want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Good evening, everybody. This is Brian Smith along with
Carrie Smith.
Here at Smyth Radio on a beautiful Sunday evening. It is 8 o'clock, February the 8th, 2015. And we are here giving you the breaking and latest news of last week. Also getting you prepared for the week to come. And just to give you a taste of what's going to happen today. We're going to touch on a little bit, probably going to try and touch on the FCC and net neutrality, getting you posted on what that means and what that's all about. And we're definitely going to talk about Obama and the prayer breakfast this week, which has been an absolute firestorm.
Well, it should be
in the news with everybody.
Oh, no, this is stuff that needs to be that everybody needs to know.
I have so many sound bites by so many different people. I mean, I'm talking spanning the spectrum of politics from the left to the right. People just absolutely insanely inflamed. But this also leads into Iran, North Korea, as well as history that you need to know. And King Jordan, who's vowing to completely wipe ISIS off the face of the earth. He is in, King Abdullah is going full beast mode on the Islamic State. That's by Fox News. So I thought that was pretty amazing.
Beast mode for
go beast mode.
Yeah. Now, for low information voters, know exactly what that is.
Of course.
But some of our core listening group
may not know.
What beast mode? What?
Right. We also have some sound bites from Krauthammer. He weighs in with Megyn Kelly.
He's obviously a Nazi, right?
Well, Krauthammer.
Oh, boy.
He's on with Megyn Kelly and the Fox Files, as well as a couple other things. But I want to throw this out there. I salute the Fort Hood, the people who died at Fort Hood because of the Muslim terrorists that screamed Allahu Akbar and slaughtered military members in a no-gun zone. It was a zone on base.
We're talking about the military.
And at that point in the military on base, it is a no-gun zone. That's where they were slaughtered with by a gun.
Well, obviously, this guy needs to learn the law.
Right.
Because if he knew the law, then he would know that he should not have a gun there.
Right. Well, the victims of this shooting and their families have not been able to collect any kind of reparations or any kind of assistance and help from the government because it was deemed at the time a non-war zone or non-fighting zone, and that it was more of an accident and not
an accident.
Yeah,
it was a slip and fall.
Right. So apparently this week they've all been awarded the Purple Heart.
Oh my gosh, that is so warranted. So deserved.
Yes.
My goodness. In fact, okay, obviously they should get the Purple Heart. It was a terrorist attack. For those of you that don't know, all you low information voters out there, the Fort Hood attack,
Fort Hood massacre.
Yeah, well, it was a battle in the war on terror against us on American soil by an Islamic terrorist doing jihad in the name of Muhammad or whatever against American combat troops on base. It's kind of like a sneak attack. You would be considered a lone wolf and stuff like that, but this is every bit of as part of the war on terror as those that have fallen in Afghanistan, let's say.
Right.
Or those that have fallen who were in the Pentagon on 9/11/2001. Or those that were on the plane Flight 93 on 9/11. So these guys were every bit killed in what ended up being a battle.
Right.
This was combat, flat out. And for them to label this, what they ended up labeling it was workplace violence, was the most egregious form of using politics to try to get out of having pundits and opponents say that an act of terrorism happened on this president's watch.
Right.
It was just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting that you would put the loved ones of these fallen heroes through that just to cover your own ass.
Well, but that's kind of what he's been doing all along, though. I mean, that's what Obama does.
Right. He is the most selfish. And you know what? I'm not going to single him out. If you are a Democratic leader, a Democrat leader in the Democrat Party, there's a certain it's like a prerequisite of selfishness that goes along with it.
Oh, yes, of course.
Because
Absolutely.
if you weren't so selfish, then you probably would be turned off by the party in general because of what they stand for and what they do, just their behavior in general. So anything that the Democrat Party stands for that isn't selfish in nature,
right,
is it's just not. It's not true to their character. So anyway.
So you want to hear what Obama's most proud of?
Well, I mean, you mean what he's most proud of today?
Yeah,
'cause I'm sure that changes.
His accomplishments. He's most proud of. His
accomplishments. Right, of course.
Well, I'm proud of saving the American economy. What? And we still have a long way to go. Essentially, what we did was stabilize it, lay a new foundation to move forward. As I said in the State of the Union address, that gives us now the capacity to tackle what was an overriding theme of my campaign way back in 2008, and that is to restore middle-class economics and the capacity for people to get into the middle class and start seeing higher wages and a broader shared prosperity inside the United States. And I think we've moved the trend lines in the right direction, but we still got a long way to go on that.
Yeah, we got a long way to go.
So he's got a long way to go, but he's going to go ahead and break his arm trying to pat himself on the back for, what was the words he used?
The trend lines.
No. He said he's proud of saving the
economy.
He went all the way.
Well, then he
said, didn't tickle it. He just punched it in the gut.
He said that he has stabilized and created a new foundation to move forward.
So
this
Barack
whole
Obama,
move forward thing.
Well, the thing that, and you know, I'm not going to sit here and go through the checklist of why this is fact, but you can do the research on your own. But whenever a Democrat is taking any kind of credit for anything that can be construed or labeled as or put under the banner of economics, what they're doing is they are stealing credit from free market capitalism to bolster socialism.
Right.
But it's all false, because socialism kills economies while unfettered free market capitalism is what causes an economy to boom.
Well, I mean, and folks, don't take our word for it. You do your own research, do your own due diligence, and find out why America is the wealthiest country at the fastest pace from nothing to the number one world superpower within 200 years.
Yeah, and
how does that happen?
A lot of people don't realize this. I didn't know this until I started doing a lot more research in history. And I'll bet you a lot of people listening may not know this. But when you think of the Industrial Revolution, as an American, I believe that, we got this brand new country where there's a lot of freedom, a lot of free market capitalism, and America really took the lead in the boom that we call the Industrial Revolution. But the reality is that the Industrial Revolution started before America really got going.
Oh, yeah.
It started in Europe.
Yeah,
It didn't start in America.
Right.
I didn't know that until recently.
Right.
All this, like, I went through public education, and, that kind of stuff wasn't really taught very well. And so, just like a lot of other people that went through public education, you just think, oh, well, this is what America invented over the years. And America did do a lot of inventions, but, even we invented the aircraft, powered flight, the Wright brothers.
Right.
But, the Wright brothers had a terrible design in their aircraft. And it was the French that improved on the design of aircraft, and the aerospace industry took off in Europe. And it wasn't until Americans started saying, hey, they got a better design. We're just going to go ahead and copy what they're doing.
They give it the program.
That's when America, even though we invented power flight, we did not perfect it. It was perfected in Europe, and then we started stealing their designs, and then we took off from there. But it was like we had to finally break down and say, all right, the Wright brothers don't have the best design. And it wasn't until then we had to eat a little bit of... And that's just one example. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But the moral of the story is once America, with its free market capitalism back in the I guess it would be the early 1800s.
Sure.
When we started, implementing, there you go, that's a good word, implementing the kind of industrial manufacturing and all that kind of stuff in America, it was the free market capitalism of America that really blew it up. It just blew it up.
It's like the difference of us having a tomato garden and our neighbor having a tomato garden, yet we use Miracle Grow and he uses the river water from the Ohio River.
Or he dumps dry sand on it. And, he just doesn't water it at all. He's like, it'll rain.
Yeah, it'll rain, and yet and at the same time, we're watering it every day and using Miracle Grow.
Pretty much, yeah. That pretty much sums it up right there.
We talk about the flourishing economies. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And the competition that is in capitalism is what the Democrats hate. They hate competition because they feel that they can't or won't or don't want to work that hard to try and outbeat somebody else. So what they do is, like if you're playing Monopoly, they decide they'll be the banker.
They want to be the banker.
And the last thing you want is a Democrat or a liberal being the banker playing Monopoly, because you're guaranteed you're going to lose.
Yeah, once they learn a little tiny bit about an industry or a business, it doesn't matter. It could be just a single business or it could be an entire industry. Once they learn a little bit about it, when I mean they, I mean people who are elected in office that feel like they need to run, they're power hungry, they need to run and manage everything. They want it to be a government program.
Well, I mean, that's good that you bring that up. I don't have any sound clips that are worthy of actually listening to that bore the living bejesus out of you guys. But the FCC and the net neutrality thing, here's the deal. This week, the FCC chairman came out and said that we want to make the Internet a level playing field. And whenever they say
what
that...
What the hell does that mean? That is a dog whistle for communism.
Right.
They want to turn the and here's the beauty part about the Internet. There's things... I look at the Internet as a whole nother universe. And that's bad English, by the way. You don't ever say a whole nother.
Right, because there is only...
The "nother" is not even a word,
no.
But I digress. No, I look at it as a separate, entire universe. There's the universe of reality where I have to go and get in a car to go to work.
Right.
If I want to buy something, I have to get in the car to go to a store, and I have to hand them paper money in order to make this transaction. Right?
Right.
Well, you have the Internet, where all of that stuff is expedited through the use of electric through wires. So,
Right.
like, instead of traveling somewhere physically to a location, you just enter in an address in the address bar and you get transported there virtually. And you do your shopping and you virtually make a transaction through typing in a credit card number or whatever. And then the only physical part of that transaction would be they may have to ship something to you. And sometimes they don't even have to do that. Like if you buy an app.
Or a book.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can download books
an audio
instantly.
book.
Or program for your computer. You download that instantly.
Program or iTunes, you buy music or
Audio.
whatever.
Yep.
So not everything has to be physically sent to you, but sometimes it does. And there may have to be a physical warehouse for that. But other than those physical things, the internet is its own little universe. But the beauty of this new universe we call the internet, I mean, could you imagine going back to the 70s? Or let's go back further, let's say the 50s. Going back to the 50s and explaining to people, hey, I'm from the future, and let me tell you something about what we do there, what's different.
Right.
And explaining the internet in the 50s to them, like,
No.
it would just blow their ever-loving mind.
Right. Right.
Like, when America was first founded, the one thing that was awesome about those days is you could go west and have wide open land and get it for either dirt cheap or in some cases free, like the Oklahoma land rush,
Yeah.
and then start something from scratch there. And I look at the internet as the new frontier.
Well, and when the liberals say that there's a finite pie and everybody gets their slice, that's not true with capitalism, because you can invent and create something that, when I say out of nothing, all these creations come from ideas. And America loves to nurture ideas, new inventions, new ways of doing things. And because we nurture that, that's why we flourished so fast and so much, because we help to inspire other people to do the same. If you want what I've got, then here's how you get it. I'm a millionaire, and I want to be, I want to have $100 million. I need to now go and find 10 other people and make them millionaires each. That's the American dream. That's the way that it created, and it flourishes upon that. Now, when Democrats say that they want to make a level playing field, there's no
Run
such
for the hills.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a level playing field in the world.
Well,
There's
there
no such-
certainly isn't in capitalism.
No, of course not. Wherever you start off, that is where you start off. There's no field of playing.
I guess you could. The founders knew this too, that there's a certain amount of regulation that's required because
very minimal.
Very minimal.
I am such an.
well, we've talked about this on a
Right.
previous show where, for instance, you would not want two competing companies who sell the same widget
Mhm.
to decide to have a secret backroom deal with cigar smoke, all that stuff, and say, hey, listen, I know that you want to sell your widget for $10 instead of $15 to beat me, but why don't we just both agree to sell it for $20 apiece?
And then we'll just leave it at that.
We'll just leave it at that, and we'll act like we're competing, but in reality, we're just gouging everybody. That's called collusion.
Right.
And that right there that would be a role for government to try to combat. Anytime.
Well, you gotta, if you have a place where you can go to file a dispute, saying, "Hey, I have evidence. I believe that these two companies are colluding," and that's where the media comes involved. That's what the founding fathers believed, that their job was to fight and to find out that information.
And you should be careful. You shouldn't react to that as a government, because let's say two kids, they both own a lawnmower, and they're cutting all the lawns in the neighborhood, and they're trying to compete for business, and then eventually they have everybody's business. Half of it one kid's doing, the other half the other kid's doing, and they get together, have their little backroom deal and decide to start gouging all their customers. Well, you should be careful as a government to try to crack down on them, because what will happen in reality in free market capitalism, a third kid's going to come along and say, oh my gosh, these guys are getting $100 a lawn.
I can do it for
I'm going to go
$50.
buy a $150 lawnmower.
Right.
And I'm going to go around with flyers to every one of these houses and say, my gosh, you guys are getting gouged.
Right.
Why don't you hire me for $50 a pop? And the third lawnmower guy is going to totally take over so much business, it's going to force those other two kids to decide, well, I guess we're not going to be able to do that anymore. And there could be a fourth kid, and then maybe some innovator will come along and say, well, I can cut grass this different way that would do it even faster, which means I could do it for cheaper.
Right.
And all of a sudden you got free market capitalism all over again. It doesn't matter that those two kids were colluding.
And the people who win are the American people. That's who wins.
Customer.
Right, the customer and the American people are who win. So, but that being said, the government feels that the level playing field that needs to be created in the internet is to benefit us, the middle class, the people, because
that's what they're going to say.
Right, they're saying that because they believe currently, right now, that there's collusion amongst the internet providers that people that pay more can get faster speed. And if you don't pay enough, then you might not get enough, and favoritism for one to another.
So what's the problem with that? Like, first of all, what's the benefit? What's the pitfall of somebody paying more to get faster speed?
It costs, and I'm assuming, I don't know how the internet providers run their service, but I'm assuming, just by a general rational thought, that if I'm getting more bandwidth, it's actually costing the company more money in some form or fashion.
Like, let's say I decide to I decide to use my internet to download movies, and I'll download as many of them as I can, and I'll let them download while I go to work or go to the grocery store or go away, and when I get back, I immediately start downloading more movies.
Right.
So I'm just nonstop, just sucking a lot of bandwidth through the wires or whatever, and maybe my next door neighbor who's paying the same price just clicks on links and doesn't use that much. Should I pay more?
If you and him are both capped at 5 meg, then you should be paying the same price.
So it's kind of like Verizon. If I can pay for a plan that would be like 2 gigs of data.
Right.
And if I go to 8 gigs, it's going to cost me a lot more, and it does.
Right. Well, after you hit that 2 gig of data that you've paid for, like for me, I get knocked down from 4G down to 3G down to 2G.
Really?
I
didn't know that.
If I go beyond my normal data plan of service on a cell phone, if I go beyond my normal data plan, then they'll kick me down so that I can't use as much bandwidth. It's kind of a penalty.
So it's almost like self-regulating.
Correct.
They're like, we're going to regulate, and this is not the government. This is an
individual
business.
Right.
A business decides, well, once he gets to his max, we're going to turn the spigot down a little bit.
We're going to trickle it through.
Yeah.
Right. So a company can do that based on the money that they have to pay out to provide the service to you. Now, their competition, whether it be Sprite, Verizon, T-Mobile, or whatnot, their competition can decide of doing business another way. And if you don't like that, then you go somewhere else. Well, it's gotten so now where cell phones and internet service and everything is so high speed, so fast, no more do you have the...
You don't have that soundbite queued up? That's actually good. Yeah.
Dial up.
Yes.
But
you should have had that queued up.
For those of you who don't know what dial up is,
you got to be at least 30, maybe older, 35. You got to be like 35 to remember that.
Because 95 was when we were dialing up in 95.
Do you have all the way up to about 2000?
Really? Okay.
Some people.
Okay.
It was getting, but anyway. So do you have you got to have those sound bites queued up next time. The one that says, "You've got mail."
The AOL one.
You've got mail.
Hey, I've got this one queued up.
Woo! It's a good thing. I need a cough button myself.
Whew. So, but we're talking about free market capitalism, and when the government says that they need to get involved to regulate anything, it's a dog whistle.
It's just socialism. It's a way.
No matter what they say, in the way that this guy said it, it was so dry, and so I mean the sound bite. The sound bite was just so awful. I didn't want to bother you because Carrie and I both sound exponentially more entertaining than any of these knuckleheads.
We could have talked while they were talking.
We could have and turned them down so low
Excuse me.
it would have been like just kind of white background noise, white noise, just like.
No, we could have been translating it.
As they were talking, right?
Real time.
Yeah. So, net neutrality, no, bad, always bad. Government getting involved, real bad. You don't need it. So this week, the firestorm of. This is good that Obama is as bad as he is, because it forces me to do more research on history. Just like our friend of ours who forced me to do research on Cuba.
Oh, yeah. And we're better people for it.
Oh, absolutely. I know more about Cuba than I ever wanted to know about Cuba ever. But the bottom line is that communism took over Cuba, beat the people down, lied, stole, cheat, suppressed, and tricked them into believing that they're in the middle of a lifetime war battle. That's what they do.
Well, the whole thing about communism is it's all about the struggle, and we have to have something to struggle against.
And if you don't have a fight, then it won't work. You have to have a fight. You got to be fighting against something at all times.
Yeah.
So this is the commander-in-chief who is currently fighting a war. He's waging a war, and let's see if you can guess by this sound clip what war he's currently waging and who he's waging it against.
Unless we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ. In our home country, slavery and Jim Crow all too often was justified in the name of Christ.
So can you guess? Do I need to give you ABC multiple choice, or could you guess who he's waging war on now?
Muslims?
Well, that was the National Prayer Breakfast, which thousands attended, and a lot of Christians. Yeah, there's like 1,000 that attended this prayer breakfast.
I didn't realize that.
And
I thought it was like 8 or 9.
No.
Like it was just a dinner table.
Just one single straight dinner table.
Like the long one,
As long as a tractor trailer.
Well, have you seen
Like
the original Batman with Jack Nicholson? Do you remember
where she sat at one end of the table and Michael Keaton sat at the other?
I thought
end?
that was the table.
Dude, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
And he moved because she said she had to scream. Can you pass the
Coming to America? Do you remember at the very beginning where they were in Africa and he was at that long table and the mom and dad, the king and queen, were one side, and the son, which was Eddie Murphy, was all the way at the end. That's
hysterical.
That's the prayer breakfast,
right? But so we're talking about a ton of Christians who go there to the prayer breakfast, and this is the same prayer breakfast where Ben Carson came out, Dr. Ben Carson, who spoke a couple years ago and blasted Obama in front of the world and Obama's face about how, one, he knows nothing of healthcare, he knows nothing of the medical field, and Dr. Ben Carson had the perfect solution for medical care, right to his face.
Yeah,
So,
that was awesome.
so now Obama is coming out in the National Prayer Breakfast, and he's saying that Islam and ISIS, what they're doing now in the Middle East, is similar to what Christians did during the Crusades and what Christians did in the South during slavery and Jim Crow laws. I've got a lot of history, a lot of things keyed up on this.
He
So if
brought up
there's something-
slavery?
He said right about here.
Home country, slavery, and Jim Crow all too often was justified in the name of Christ.
What?
Justified in the name of Christ.
He is doing mental gymnastics here. To be perfectly honest with you, I've heard so many different racist, non-racist, historical, everything you can imagine growing up and recently about slavery, the atrocities of slavery, and the racism in the South, and then the Jim Crow laws. And I can't ever remember a specific link between Christianity being the cause or even somehow linked to Jim Crow laws. I just don't get it.
Right.
I mean, Southern Baptists. The entire black community in the South are all Southern Baptists. These are Christians. Did they
were all
leave?
racist too.
Well, did they say, you know what? I love my church. I love the Southern Baptist Church, but I'm gonna have to leave it because they are practicing the Christianity that is the cause of the Jim Crow laws. I've never heard of a Jim Crow law saying, well, it's what Christ would have wanted. Who has ever heard of this? This is brand spanking new narrative.
Okay,
They're inventing new history. History is just being completely invented right now.
Right. And so now let's tackle the Jim Crow law first. And I did a little bit of research, a little bit of history.
Please explain to me
then
how Christianity is the cause of Jim Crow laws. Come on.
In 1946, Time magazine named Theodore Bilbo, a politician, Villain of the Year.
Okay.
He
obviously Democrat.
he was a Baptist preacher, politician, and part of the Ku Klux Klan.
So that's it. They're linked.
He is a full-blown, all-out and out Democrat.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised by it. I mean, you heard me just call it.
Right.
I didn't know that, by the
Right.
way. I was just guessing, which, call me prejudiced if you want, but I prejudged him. Based on his...
All I had to say.
Based on his anti-black hatred for racism, all that stuff, and the time frame, it had to be a Democrat.
And he wrote a book, and in his book, he claimed that God made human beings of different color to live in different parts of the world. So God wanted us to be separate from each other. He would make statements like, it's not that I hate other cultures. I just don't think that we should be together. We should be segregated, not integrated.
And that's where the Jim Crow laws came from, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was a big part of that, and a politician, and a Southern Baptist preacher. He was really big. He was well noted back in the day. Well, the 2 years after his book came out, the Federal Council of Churches officially denounced segregation, stating that Jim Crow was, and I quote, a violation of the gospel of love and human brotherhood.
Which I think most people would think that. I'm sure that all black Southern Baptists, people who follow Christianity through Southern baptism or whatever, would not agree with this one single person's interpretation of what he feels God wanted with the different races, that they needed to be, that God wanted them to be segregated. So basically what you're telling me is that Obama could take, and forget Obama, let's just take liberal progressives in general.
Okay.
If they can find one person, and that's the key, because all they need is one person. They can take one person who can show that an atrocity such as Jim Crow laws can be justified by their belief that God would have wanted it that way, that it's the entire religion of Christianity that caused Jim Crow laws.
Right. Just like you had made a comment a couple shows ago, if a general in the Marine Corps or the Air Force or whatever goes out and butchers somebody,
okay,
say somebody from, maybe say it's his own military personnel, or
maybe it's a colonel.
That goes ahead and kills and destroys his own military personnel. That means that we now have a military that's killing itself from the inside. It's destroying itself.
That's what military does. They go in and they kill each other.
Right. Well, and the one guy over in the Middle East,
I can prove it. Who's this guy in Fort Hood?
One of the military members over in the Middle East, he left the barracks in the middle of the night and ran through these Muslim houses. The story was a while ago, but he had killed some women and children in the middle of the night.
I remember this, yeah.
And then ran back where they stole stuff or whatever, yada yada yada. And Abu Ghraib. Things like the stories like that, they pull up. It's the whole military. The whole military's doing it.
They love. They can make any statement in the world about any group. All right, any group, any statement. If they find one instance where one person
did it
from that group that they're talking about did that thing that they're trying to accuse the whole group of doing, then they can say that they proved it. They proved that the whole group's doing it.
They love doing that with talk radio. Like they'll pull out something that maybe Rush Limbaugh says, or some of the big guys.
Oh, yeah, a lot of that's taken out of context too.
They will rip it out of context and make Rush, and Rush does it on purpose sometimes. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm going to say this. Watch their heads explode.
Yeah. Oh, this will send them into orbit.
Yes.
That's what he likes to say. And that's the funny thing about Rush is he knows that they're not going to know that he's being either sarcastic or he's just saying it knowing that it's going to send him into orbit with tongue-in-cheek. A lot of tongue-in-cheek comments. Mm-hmm. And then they go and they hear it and they think that he really meant what he said or whatever, when really he was just saying it knowing he was mocking their belief of conservatives.
Right. So Obama I've got a second clip of what Obama feels that Christians should be doing currently right now.
I believe that the starting point of faith is some doubt. Not being so full of yourself and so confident that you are right and that God speaks only to us and doesn't speak to others. That God only cares about us and doesn't care about others. That somehow
that? Oh, by the way,
we alone are in
Sorry.
possession of the truth. Our job is not to ask that God respond to our notion of truth. Our job is to be true to Him, His word and His commandments. And we should assume humbly that we're confused and don't always know what we're doing. And we're staggering and stumbling towards Him. And have some humility in that process.
Okay,
gosh.
Before you say anything, I believe that all of that was clear and unadulterated projection.
Oh, yeah, when he says doubt, that's a dog whistle to atheists.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Good.
Okay. Oh, for those of you that don't know, and I don't know how much I've talked about atheism on this show.
You haven't talked about it on the show a lot, but I know that you delved into it.
I was raised an atheist.
Well, not only that, but I know you've had some drag out, all and out, drag down, knockout fights on the internet with atheists.
I have exhausted every single debate, all the way to its atomic level, all the way to the end. Every debate that you could possibly have between a Christian and an atheist. I can't even. You bring it up, and I promise you, it will be a rehash of a debate I've had before. Trust me. But no, when you hear doubt, what they're really saying is I don't believe in God. Is what they're saying.
Right.
And I know you do, but I don't. I think that you're full of crap, and you shouldn't be so full of yourself. You should be more like intelligent people like me, and know that what you believe is not proven.
Right.
And since it's not proven, you should have some doubt about the legitimacy of your religion. This is what they believe.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they'll say.
Well, and I've got 3 different people in history. One who's still alive, Governor Jim Gilmore, who's retired now, but he said that this morning's prayer breakfast was the most offensive I've ever heard a president make in a lifetime. He has offended every believing Christian in the United States.
Completely.
This goes further to the point that Mr. Obama does not believe in America or the values we share.
Who said this?
Former Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore.
Oh, good for him.
And can you imagine what his party
good.
affiliation is?
Republican?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Go figure.
Well, he's obviously biased.
And then we have Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who during the time of Theodore Bilbo, when I was telling you before, who ripped into the Southern churches as arch defenders of the status quo and criticized the churches for its vocal sanction of the things that are. Meaning, we've got to change these Jim Crow laws. We've got to change these ideas that you have about segregation. In the South of these Southern Democrats who implemented all these things.
I mean, based on your research, it sounds like you agree with Obama's notion that Jim Crow laws were an atrocity that came from the religion of Christianity.
No.
But you're pointing out that they're Democrats.
Well, yeah, because just like we talked about the other day, if I sat down and watched a movie with our friend, at the same time we both watched American Sniper, my takeaway from American Sniper was I have a newfound love and appreciation for my country and the soldiers who protect us. However, our friend would come away from that saying, see, I told you, America kills children and babies and you're evil and all this stuff.
And she would say, she would use the word children's. Did I say she?
Slipping the lid.
Woo! So, but it may be a he.
It may be a he. Or maybe
well, actually, it may actually be a he.
Right, because you can, if you wish to be, referred to in a sense of refer to me as it, him, she, he, thee, they. You can use those words nowadays in school and tell the teacher to refer to you as they.
Well, you're taking away humanity when you refer to a human as it.
Correct. So, no, just like these Southern Democrats take from the Bible their notion that they believe that the Bible says, and they're twisting it, obviously, that because that's what they do. I mean, that's par for the course. That they say that, oh, yeah, God wants us all to be separate. That's why we were born in different countries.
I'll tell you what.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
This is news to me, and is this new? Because, Democrats...
Martin Luther King was a Republican, by the way. Just to reiterate that.
Hold on a second. Okay, so here's what I'm worried about. Because Democrats like to shape the narrative of history...
Dude, they're shapeshifters.
Right, to fit... the propaganda they want to instill into whoever might be listening to this.
Right, of the day.
Right. Could be children. It could be people that just don't know any better, that want to learn a little bit, and the Democrats know that, and they're like, well, let's teach them what we want them to know.
Right. And how we want them to know it, and the details that we feel should be implemented in their brain. True or false?
That being said, what you're telling me now, because I have never heard anybody blame Christianity for Jim Crow laws. This is brand new to me.
No, never.
So
nobody has.
It makes me wonder if this is something where they were like, how can we attack Christianity with regards to racism of the South back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, that kind of stuff. And somebody said, you know what?
There was a politician named Jim Bilbo.
Who was a religious pastor, whatever.
He was a Baptist preacher.
Can we somehow find a soundbite or maybe something written by this character that links Christianity to racism?
Oh, and he absolutely wrote a lot of... They wrote an entire book about how God told him that segregation of the people is best. That's the way I want it.
Okay, so there's validity to what they're saying.
Correct.
With regards to this person. The question is, I mean, is he a best-selling author? I mean,
no.
Did a lot of people buy this
it's
and
like
agree
Hillary
with
Clinton's
it?
book.
Oh, it was one of those situations.
Dude, I saw her book at Kroger's in the book section,
Uh-huh.
and they had the whole top shelf, and they were completely full all the way out. There wasn't a single book missing. It's like somebody had just filled the shelves.
Well, you got to decorate.
But it was... it has been like that for at least a month.
Oh, man, that's sad. You sure that they don't have a very vigilant stock boy?
Oh, I'm sure.
As soon as somebody buys it, they have this buzzer. It's actually a fire alarm in the back. Like Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
We got one!
Yep.
And then she hits the button and the bell goes off.
Right.
And so that's what happens. Some lady who has a desk next to the shelves with the Hillary.
That's her only job.
Yeah, and she'll sit there for a couple weeks, and finally somebody will grab one. She screams at the top of her lungs, "We've got one!"
And they don't even need to buy it. They just need to pick it up and walk away with it. And she's like, "It's empty."
Right, so she'll hit the alarm, scream, "I got one." Guys come down a pole with a new book replenishment, and they fill the spot. So that way, every time Brian walks through the aisle, or anybody like Brian who's just curious, they'll see that it's always full.
Right. No,
Okay.
exactly.
That's
yeah.
I mean, that's probably what's happening.
Well, and the thing is what they like to do is they like to, same thing with Bird Dog. They like to put out on the surface what it is and just let it be. And they're throwing Theodore Bilbo out there as a proponent of slavery and Jim Crow laws.
Jim Crow laws, yeah.
Because he spouts the name of Christ.
So they can. What they're trying to do is do the double whammy.
Right.
The kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
We're going to go ahead and crucify. Well, it's just the link between Christianity and Jim Crow laws.
Okay, so then let's take Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
When she says that every time somebody gets on unemployment, the economy goes up.
Is that like every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings?
Right. Or every time you cut down a tree, a hippie misses a hacky sack.
Oh, wow. Who said that? That's a good one.
It's on the radio.
Oh, man.
It's one of those. It's not a commercial, but it's one of those funny DJs that they play in between commercials.
That's a good one.
He's like, every time you chop a tree down, the hippie misses a hockey sack.
That's a good one. Awesome. Oh.
So, but that's the whole thing, though. Just because Nancy Pelosi said it, does that mean everybody that is on the Democrat Party is as insane as she is? Well, actually, yes, they all are. But no, in all reality, there are Democrats that aren't certifiably insane. However, there are at least a couple that are certifiable.
I wish the tactic would not work, but it's so effective.
They do it
conservatives, really don't. Conservatives don't do it because they don't. The initial thought is, well, they just don't believe it works.
Well, not only don't they believe it works, but you have to lie and fabricate, and it goes against what we believe.
Yeah.
You teach your kids not to lie, right?
It's dishonest, but it's not the kind of lie like, did you take that cookie? And then you say no when you actually did. That's just a bald-faced lie. Right. What it is they're making a link that ends up with causing a narrative that's dishonest or untrue, completely untrue. So they make this link between this one pastor who says, well, you know what? Segregation is something that God would have wanted because X, Y, and Z. And I'll write a whole book about why God believed in segregation or God approves of segregation.
Right.
And they'll take that and say, well, here's your missing link.
Well,
they're making this prejudice statement, not directly, but it leads to a belief among people who aren't really thinking very clearly or thinking very consciously that everybody who believes in Christianity has to subscribe to this.
Right. This is something interesting. Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address, it's amazing how he writes this, and you can see where he's conflicted with himself. But he says about the North and the South, both read the same Bible and pray to the same God, and each invokes his aid against the other. It may seem strange that any men should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces. But let us judge not, that we not judged. The prayers of both could not be answered. That of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purpose. Now, what all that, unjumbled, what all that means is that he's saying, there's a dichotomy here. I, the President of the United States, want to hold the country together, but I know that my God believes that people should not be enslaved, and we need to fight to free slaves. So white America and a white president decided to free the black man from the chains of the South. The South believed that God said we're to have slaves. So
the whole South, or just?
Well, I mean, there was a lot.
Hold on. What I'm saying is, people in the South
voted for politicians that instilled laws.
No, but what I'm saying is there's a difference between, I sure hope they don't end slavery, and, I hope they don't end slavery. Okay, I hope they don't end slavery for my own well-being, and I hope they don't end slavery because that would be against God's will.
Right.
There's a difference between those two.
Absolutely.
So my question is were most of the South, let's just say a vast majority of them were pro-slavery. Vast majority.
Right, because if you were against slavery, you moved to the North.
Or it could be very, very ugly for you.
Right. You kept quiet.
Right.
It's a silent majority. You just didn't say anything. You turned a blind eye.
So let's just say a vast majority were actually pro-slavery. How many of them would say, honestly,
in the name of God?
If you could get an honest answer at them, would you say that this is what God wanted? Or would they just say, well, you know what, I just don't want to give up. Maybe it's a sin, but... well,
let me speculate here. If you went to church and the prominent Baptist preacher would be on the pulpit, the pulpit, and preaching pro-slavery and pro-Bible, how do you not buy into that as a child?
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, these are leaders of your community.
You're being indoctrinated into an ideology that...
So clearly Christianity is the source of a lot of atrocities back in the day, and I think Obama was right about everything.
So
are we making that case? Is that what's going on here?
No, I think we're making the opposite case. I think we're making the case that people, human beings, skew words and ideas to fit their narrative of that moment.
I see what you're saying. So when I was in the fraternity, we had these creeds, and we had all these sayings and beliefs about friendship and justice and all that kind of stuff that I was like, wow, these guys have got it all figured out.
Right.
But there were a lot of people in the fraternity that were not living those creeds and those beliefs. They weren't living them at all. They were fallible human beings. And you would, from an outsider looking in, you would think these people. I'm not saying my whole fraternity was like this, but let's say a vast majority were.
Right.
From an outsider's perspective, you could say these people are in a bad fraternity. But they don't realize that these people are just exercising the creeds and beliefs and all that stuff improperly. So what your argument would be is that these people were not following Christianity properly.
Right. Well, there's a high school this week that came out and said they were going to change the name of the school because it was named after a former Grand Wizard Dragon Ku Klux Klan member.
Okay.
However, that guy's been long since dead. Long ago been dead. And none of these kids even knew it.
They didn't know that this guy was
right.
Grand
So to say that they, by going to that school, they supported what the founder of the school believed. I know it's kind of stretching it, but isn't that the same idea? Like Duke University now needs to change their name because of David Duke, the head politician of the KKK movement.
I did not know that.
Well, they need his name's David Duke.
And
yes.
Duke University's named after David Duke?
I don't know. But
you don't know? Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
Well, you know what? I don't care if it is or isn't.
A Duke? Are you kidding me?
Did you know that you cannot have the last name Hitler? I mean, think about it.
Name your child Adolf.
No. Oh, yeah. The name Adolf is impossible now.
Well, and you can't wear the mustache either. The Charlie Chaplin mustache.
You can't. Charlie Chaplin was fine.
Well, not only that, but in that era, that particular type of mustache was popular.
Yeah, it wasn't just Charlie Chaplin.
Right. Or Adolfo Hitler, who had Jewish descendants or ascendants.
Ancestors.
Ascendants.
They are my ascendants.
The ones that were above me. And
above me, yeah. They're in my upline. Oh! For those of you
who are into network marketing.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
All right.
So if we beat... Well, let me play this Elizabeth Hasselbeck on Fox and Friends. She had Bishop E.W. Jackson on her show. The clip 8... and on her show, and she asked what he thought about the entire prayer breakfast that Obama gave. And this is what Bishop E.W. Jackson had to say.
You know, Elizabeth, I have a message for the president with all due respect to him and to the office. Mr. President, if you don't want to give terrorists a recruitment tool, instead of closing Guantanamo Bay, frankly, sir, you ought to close your mouth. Because you just gave them a gigantic propaganda tool. They called us crusaders, and you've just confirmed it. Mr. President, we're not on our high horse. What we are is on high alert. And the American people would like for once to know that you're willing to defend Christianity and defend America instead of defending Islam.
Well, I mean, clearly, if you weren't sure. We're talking about a guy there was a big debate when he was running for president the first time. Is he Christian? Is he Muslim? Oh, he went to Reverend Wright's church, so clearly he's Christian.
GD America.
But then there's people that are like, is he really Muslim and he's just hiding it? He was raised. He went to a Muslim school when he was in Kenya.
Right.
And I don't know if it was himself or his wife that said. I think it was Obama that said my Muslim. It was like a Freudian slip.
Yeah, no, I had the sound clip on one of our shows.
Yeah, he said my Muslim religion.
And the media guy he was in front of was trying to correct him. Right, Christianity. Yeah.
You mean you? Yeah, he tried to correct. Like, no, we can't take that for the record. We need to. We need to. Can we go ahead and rewind that real quick?
Do we have a 7-second delay?
Is there a delay?
There's got to be a delay.
There's got to be a delay. So. One thing we can confirm now is we knew this, but now we have proof. We know he hates America, but now we can say he truly hates the whole religion of Christianity and all of its denominations.
Right.
Period.
And it's clearly
It's over.
apparent.
There is no debate anymore. It's over. We know now. We can say as a fact, Barack Hussein Obama hates Christianity.
Right.
Does that make him more Muslim? I mean, a friend of a friend, an enemy of an enemy, whatever.
Right. Well, the science has been settled.
If that is the standard by which then okay, yeah, the science has been settled.
If we're going to go by the standard rule of thumb that
the environmentalists use.
The environmentalists, the communists use, then science has settled it. Then science has settled.
Yes.
Full-blown Muslim communist sympathizer.
I'm not 100% sold on him being Muslim yet, even though he admitted it.
Oh, wow.
Maybe it was a Freudian slip. Maybe it was just a mix-up in tongue twister, whatever. Whether or not he's Muslim or not, I think he's more atheist than anything. So even if he thought he was Muslim, and there's a lot of Muslims in the Middle East who will say, we know Barack Obama is a Muslim. They'll say it.
Right. Because they know it.
I think he's more of an communists hate religion.
Yes.
And I think he's a full-blown red rubber baby buggy bumper communist.
Yes.
And as a communist, he really can't buy into Islam either. There's no communist Islamists.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
No.
Communists believe in full-blown religion of atheism.
Right.
And for those of you atheists out there who are recoiling and being shot into orbit by me calling your religion a religion, that science has been settled. You are following a full-blown, and not only that, but a lot of you guys are evangelicals.
Oh.
And for those of you that don't know what evangelicals are, an evangelical is somebody who goes around and tries to profess his faith.
And convert people to his faith.
You want to try to bring more. You're a recruiter for your faith.
Right.
And your faith is not believing that God does not exist.
Right.
That is your belief. And what you do is you go around and you argue your point to try to convert people into your religion of atheism. That is why, which satisfies the definition of religion. So that is why that's the short version of my proof that atheism is a religion. But anyway, I digress.
100%. Absolutely. Let's now tackle the notion that Obama had to reach 1,000 years back.
Oh, boy.
To call out Christians and the Crusades. Now, before you get wiggity on the history thing, I'll make this entertaining.
We need to make the Crusades crystal clear.
Right. I'll make it entertaining. And I've got some clips. People might disagree. And I've got some clips that do disagree with each other. But it, in my mind, from what I've read and what I've seen,
well, let me give you this teaser.
I'm pretty crystal clear about what the Crusades were all about.
Yeah, and I want you to clear it up for the audience, but I'm going to give you this little teaser. The Crusades have been improperly used to abuse and beat down the religion of Christianity for way too long.
I believe so, absolutely.
And so it's time. I'm glad he brought it up because this is going to give us and everybody else who's going to defend the Crusades an audience.
Right. Well, and I didn't know this, but former Mayor Rudy Giuliani is an avid history buff, historian, and he knows a lot about the Christian faith as well from almost a historical point of view.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting. But he was on with Bill Hemmer this week. Bill Hemmer brought him out.
He's from Cincinnati.
Hemmer.
Bill Hemmer.
Yeah, he graduated from Oak Hills.
Yeah, there you go.
I've got like 10 years before me.
I guess he's getting a little older.
He doesn't look
he doesn't
that
look
old.
that
Not
old.
even that close.
He doesn't.
He does not look.
He uses just for men.
Right, 'cause he does not look 40. I mean, he's 10 years older than me. and he doesn't look 40. Not
What?
at all.
What? Anyway.
So Giuliani speaks out about this whole talk, this whole speech that Obama gave on Bill's show, and then Bill had a couple follow-up questions. But here's Rudy laying it down.
Absolutely the wrong thing at absolutely the wrong time, and the president is as weak a historian as he is a president, and as weak a theologian. First of all, the Crusades did not follow the words of Jesus Christ. They were totally contrary to the words of Jesus Christ. What they are doing, some of it is contrary to the words of Muhammad, like burning people. Some of it isn't, like killing in the name of the faith, going to heaven if you kill in the name of the faith. There were two Muhammads, the early Muhammad and the late Muhammad. Early Muhammad was very, very peaceful. Late Muhammad was a warrior, led wars. Jesus Christ said, forgive those who kill you. So when we see Christian atrocities of 1,000 years ago, 800 years ago, we're seeing people who are acting contrary to the words of their founders. When we see Muslim atrocities today, there are words in the Quran, and nobody wants to face this, that support some of what they're doing. Not burning, but beheading. So what he's missing as a historian is the Protestant Reformation, the Catholic Counter-Reformation, the emergence of Reform Judaism. There are Orthodox Jews who disagree with Reform Jews, but they don't kill them. There are very strict Catholics who disagree with less strict Catholics. They don't kill them. They don't behead them. Right? They don't stone them. Nobody stones a woman for adultery anymore in Christianity or Judaism. So,
I mean, those are valid
Well,
points.
and they don't line them up in a line of 300 people on their knees with their arms bound behind their back, where a group of people, and sometimes one, depending on how many rounds the clip holds in the 9mm, walk down the line one at a time, bam, 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 in the back of everybody's head one at a time.
Right.
While the ones that are coming up next squinch and duck.
You know you're next.
You're coming, and you don't even know whether you're the next one or the one after that.
Right.
And it's just sickening to see that stuff. And these are Muslims doing this to other Muslims who have a slight disagreement in the way
Muslim
that
enough.
in their minds, not Muslim enough. So as long as we can get these guys with their arms bound behind their backs and on their knees, let's go ahead and eliminate them. And you don't see that in the Christian faith. So that was an interesting...
I don't think I've ever heard of in the Christian faith how Christian bishops and leaders in the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church calling out if you see another Christian not behaving Christian enough, confront them. If they don't adhere to the laws of Christianity, you got to cut their head off.
Or shoot them in the back of the head.
Right. I've never heard of that ever in all of...
Or put them in a cage and light a fire or douse them with accelerant and go ahead and light that up.
Yeah, Kerry just led on to a breaking story this week.
Jeez.
This will be part of the whole thing, but yeah.
And did they show it?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, they did. That Jordanian pilot.
So finally,
we're going to jump back, but just to touch on this,
we're going to talk about a atrocious. Man.
The Jordanian, the Jordanian King Abdullah II, said to ISIS this week, "If you kill our pilot, if you behead our pilot."
So a Jordanian pilot was captured by ISIS.
Right.
Okay.
And the king of Jordan said, if you kill our pilot, we will systematically kill, or we will hang. We will hang every single prisoner that we have connected to ISIS.
Okay. And I like that statement because, if it doesn't get backed up, then you probably cause more problems.
I mean, that's a big statement. He came out bold.
It's like, you better not.
Bold and strong.
Well, they didn't just kill him, apparently.
They put him in what looked to be about a 15-foot by 15-foot cage for a lion, like at a zoo. It was,
like a old school, like 1800s zoo cage.
Right, and it was large enough.
Circus cage.
Right, it was large enough to probably fit shoulder to shoulder 20 to 30 men.
Was it that big?
It was big.
Oh, okay.
It was big enough for him to run around in it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you saw the footage?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It is brutal to say the least.
Let me tell you something.
He wasn't tied. He wasn't nothing. He was
you're in a cage, right?
Right. But the dousing with gasoline and lighting.
Oh boy, that's got to be tough to watch, and mainly because there's, I've seen a lot of and thought about a lot of different ways and heard about a lot of different ways that you could be killed.
Especially all those mafia movies from the past.
No, I'm not the movies. I'm talking about, Faces of Death.
Oh.
Or very detailed written descriptions of deaths of people and stuff like that. Or like
the concentration camps.
Or that show on Spike called 1,000 Ways to Die. Even though nothing is real, the way they describe it is very graphic.
Like the stories are real, the reenactments and pictures, but there's no
blood
and guts.
And yeah, there'll be a reenactment, but when they describe it in words, very graphic. And one thing I will tell you is, of all the different ways that you can be killed or die, I've always held death by being burned to death very high, almost pretty much at the top of the list of worst ways to die.
I had some people say, well, what about drowning? And I know drowning at the very onset, looking at it really at a snapshot, might be scary, and your mind gets all scared. However, within less than a few seconds, you'll pass out. You'll pass out. Your first gulp of water.
There was a show. It was a documentary called It was either called A Pilot Story or A Fighter Pilot Story. One of those two titles.
That Fighter Pilot Story sounds familiar.
Well, it was on Discovery Channel, and it's like a 2-hour-long show, maybe even longer, documentary, chronicling this guy's experiences in World War II. And he described he was a pilot, so he described this really nasty crash of one of his close buddies while he was trying to land. And of course he ran all the way up to the burning wreckage right after it landed. And when he got to his buddy, he opened up the canopy to try to rescue him.
Oh, man.
And he was they said he was burnt so bad that there was no face left, just like a hole. You could see his teeth, and he could tell that he was still conscious.
Oh no!
And he was trying to tell him to help him. There was nothing he could do, and it was just the worst thing I ever heard in my life.
Something that reminded me of less gruesome, but the movie back in the day, the 1967 movie of Bonnie and Clyde, the original movie. At the end of the movie, somewhere in the movie, it's been a long time since they crashed the car that they're in, and the car catches fire.
Okay.
And she's stuck in the car.
Mm-hmm.
She can't get out, and she's burning. I mean, just that whole scene.
That would be really rough, yeah.
I mean, yet these sadistic. I mean, how sadistic do you have to? How evil do you have to be?
And let me tell you about how evil it is. If you had a dog in a cage, or a cat, or a rodent, a freaking rodent, I don't think I could douse it with lighter fluid and light it on fire. It'd be too hard to watch.
Right.
We're talking about, like a mouse.
Remember that giant rat cat that I had in the backyard?
Rat cat.
The rat that's the size of a small cat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it was terrorizing the neighborhood. And it was living in the bales of hay.
Right.
Well, I gave it the poison for it to die.
Okay.
The cubes. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, it's okay. It's going to eat the cubes, and it's going to slowly pass away and die. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw this thing spread eagle in the backyard. I was like, what? So I took a brick and I threw it at it. to see if it would move, and it didn't move, and I poked it.
Was it the size of the rat in Princess Bride?
Oh yes,
that size.
You could ride it. Oh yes,
yeah,
you could
that
ride
was a big
this
rat.
thing. So, and even it's dead, folks. It is dead. It's deceased, and even poking it with a stick to see, you could still feel it in your. I could feel it because I'm poking.
It was dead.
But it was dead. But I could feel it. And this garbage day's on a Tuesday. This was on a Wednesday. And this is the summertime. I'm like, there's no way I could leave this in a garbage can for a whole week. So I put it in the fire pit.
But it was already
ashes
dead.
to ashes, dust to dust.
Well, it was already dead.
It was already dead. But my whole point is that there was still a tinge of weirdness about it.
Well, when something is
we're
no
talking about
longer
a rat.
alive,
We're
it's
talking
just
about
the remains.
Right. We're talking about a dead rat. We're not talking about a live human grown man.
But it was weird for you to cremate it, pretty much.
Right. Still kind of.
But if it was a live rat in a cage, and we're talking about a rat, who cares about a rat, right?
Right.
I couldn't do it. It would be, and let's say for as long as it took me to douse it with accelerant and then light it, I did that and was somehow able to get past the recoil of doing that.
Right.
Having to sit through watching it die by being on fire would be too much for me to handle.
Okay, so the rat made its way, before it died, made its way into my grill.
Oh, okay.
Underneath the grill.
Okay.
Like underneath the grades and where the burner is. Mm-hmm. And he was eating the scraps and
right, because there's a lot of stuff, dripping.
And I had to get him out of there.
So you decided to
light it.
Oh, man.
And the whole grill was...
Oh, he was in there going nuts.
Oh, going ape. And let me tell you, man, I have never felt so
Oh.
I had never felt so bad in my life.
And just as a disclaimer, no animals were mistreated or harmed in the broadcast of this show.
No, not of this show.
So what happened?
Okay, well, so the pilot died, and then immediately I was at work.
When he died, I think it's too graphic because I haven't seen the video, and I don't know if I'll ever see it because of this remarkable. You know, when a girl takes a nude photo of herself. It is on. It doesn't matter if you delete it. You upload it to the internet, it's there forever. But somehow, miraculously, the whole world comes together and works together to successfully censor those kind of videos.
2 American teenagers in India took a nude picture of themselves at a temple and uploaded it and were subsequently arrested.
Okay.
Because you can't do that in India.
Okay.
It's against law. But that's out there.
Yeah, people could probably find that somewhere. But miraculously, you can't find the execution.
And like we said before, LiveLeak swore they would never show anymore. LiveLeak.
Yeah.
And LiveLeak had an article. I'm like, oh, is this the video? So I clicked on it, and it becomes a picture. It's a picture with an article. So there's no video.
I've seen that one.
Right. Of him half on fire, half not.
I didn't see the half on fire. The only thing I saw...
The flames now are up the height of his one knee and then up the side of his body.
Okay. So they at least got a still picture that's not Photoshop per se, maybe?
No, it doesn't look Photoshopped.
Oh.
But I mean, it did happen.
You're saying you saw the video,
right?
Okay.
And that was congruent with what happened.
Not to get too graphic here, but I mean, did it look like? Did he just sit there? Like, have you ever seen the monk that lit himself on fire?
That is insane. And
he just sits there.
He sat there,
completely motionless, like he was already dead.
That's
like he was a statue.
Right.
Imagine lighting a statue on fire.
Yeah, no, this guy did.
Like the touchdown Jesus up in Dayton. He got struck by lightning, burned down. So, So the question is, he didn't like being lit on fire, I guess.
No, he didn't enjoy that at all.
Oh, man. And I'm sure the Jordanian, those who were in charge of the ISIS prisoners in Jordan,
Well, as soon as this happened...
they probably seen it.
Right. As soon as this happened, the Jordanian king then immediately hung 2 ISIS members that were in prison.
You know, my first
Immediately.
initial reaction is good for him.
Right.
Man, I mean, imagine you're an ISIS prisoner, and you could be in prison in Jordan for anything. And once they find out you're an ISIS...
sympathizer.
We could be a sympathizer, you could be a member of ISIS or whatever. All of a sudden, you find yourself being executed as retaliation for the idiots that you're a part of, burning somebody to death.
Right.
Here you are, being executed for it.
Right.
It's just crazy.
So,
but, I mean, it is what it is, and this is the fight fire with fire thing that we would advocate here on Smyth Radio.
You must... And I talked about this with some folks this week. If you are in a war, you're pulled into a war by evil. And when I say pulled into it, you are watching the systematic slaughtering of innocent men, women, and children who wish no harm upon anybody else, just like the Jews during World War II.
Well, and while we're talking about religion and people doing atrocities, this is people who are clearly guided by Satan.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Clearly.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so the Jordanian king this week decided that the 2 hangings weren't enough.
Oh boy, I did not. You're getting into uncharted territory with me. I heard about the 2 hangings, but what happened?
Well, Saturday and today, Sunday, has been a couple of big days, and that's where.
So this is breaking news. This is something that hasn't been covered.
Right. Rush and other shows have covered this yet, but apparently Fox News referred to King Abdullah as going beast mode.
Oh my gosh! Why would they do that? Dude, we're talking about human beings
They said
here.
going full beast mode.
Okay, for those of you who are low information, you know what beast mode is. But those of you that are, high information voters probably don't. Beast mode refers to it's a phrase that gamers use. Beast mode would be a mode that you would select in a game that allows you to obliterate everything in a video game. And Fox News is referring to a person executing prisoners in retaliation for atrocities in the name of Satan, apparently.
Right.
They're comparing it to a video game mode, a mode in a video game.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! So okay, is there a sound bite or no?
Well, no.
Okay.
This is all written
beast mode, huh?
Right.
Okay.
So the king vowed this week to completely wipe out ISIS and to continue to do so until they run out of fuel and ammunition.
Good for them.
He said he's not going to stop.
Good for them. This is the kind of response that I've been just. And I'm sure I don't think I speak for myself here. I think I speak for a lot of people. This is the kind of response that people are hungry for.
This is the first.
Am I being a warmonger right here?
No. This is the first time in a long time. I can't remember a time of when I was on Facebook posting articles and immediate responses flooded in.
Really?
And they flooded in on these articles that I posted. So he vows until the fuel and ammunition run out. This week he sent 21 F-16s to drop bombs on ISIS in northeast Syria. The USA, the United States Air Force, escorted with F-18s, providing them to refuel in-air refueling and radar jamming to protect the pilots.
And they should. Right. One of their pilots just got burned to death in a freaking cage.
Right. So the Jordanian pilots were writing on their bombs, referring to the pilot that was burned alive. And the news article wouldn't go into detail of what the word. I mean, it was in
So we're
Arabic
talking
writing.
all-out war here.
Yeah, it was in Arabic writing, so I couldn't read it. But they wouldn't say what it said, so it probably was like, "Go to hell and die, all you beep 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 beep."
Did it use the pound sign?
So it was written. It was written in Arabic, and after every little scribble, there was a pound sign, exclamation point, question mark.
Yeah. The censored profanities.
You know, when Kubert used to talk.
Kubert, well, but he wasn't. Was he cussing? Apparently, Kubert was cussing. I didn't know
Apparently.
that. Okay.
So for those of you who ever played the game Kubert,
oh my gosh, you got to be at least 42.
No, come on.
Kubert.
Well, you played it?
I was too young to play it.
Oh my.
I remember seeing it.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't understand. I was too young. I couldn't play it. I didn't understand it.
Jeez. Yeah, somebody showed
Wow.
me when I was a child.
Somebody showed you in a vintage, yeah. Anyway.
So they were writing epitaphs for the Muslim ISIS insanity.
Expletives.
Yeah, expletives.
So,
So the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, announced Saturday that it's sending a squadron of F-16s to Jordan, resuming. It had stopped. They are now resuming their participation in the U.S.-led airstrikes on the Islamic State in Iraq and in Syria. Jordan requested armed drones from the USA, but as you could probably guess, that request has been stalled.
well, I'm glad. So stalled. There's still a chance.
So what are my chances? Just give it to me straight. Is it like 1 in 100?
1 in a million.
Yes! So there is a chance!
I just saw that movie. And you know what? Probably need to not show my daughter again.
Oh, was it? I
There
don't
were
know
a
if I've shown the
couple-
kids,
There were a
but
couple I had to put my hands over her eyes, but she's at that age now.
my kids did watch it.
Yeah.
Where he was frozen to him because of the pee on the moped going up the mountain. They were on a little tiny moped. They were stuck together in the freezing snow.
Oh, right. That was earlier. Yeah, I was thinking of when they were skiing.
Oh.
So we're referring to Dumb and Dumber.
The second Dumb and Dumber is not, I repeat, not teenage friendly.
It's at least like PG-17.
I'll be honest with you. If my son was 16 years old, I would be uncomfortable.
I was very uncomfortable
Your
with a lot
daughter's
of
older,
scenes.
though.
Right, she's getting to that age where she's got to start figuring this stuff out.
I cannot watch any of the Austin Power movies anymore with my kids.
But before you could.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they're really, really young, there's certain things that they just don't get at all.
They keep asking for the Austin Powers movie.
But why can't you watch it now?
It's all about its gratuitously laden sex undertones at every turn.
Well, for those of you that don't listen to the show very often, I've been on this quest to watch every movie that's ever been made that's any good at all.
Okay.
And I'm talking anywhere from silent film all the way up. If it's been deemed a good film, I'm going to try to watch it.
Right.
So I've noticed there's a little bit. It's a cultural shift that goes through the generations, and you got like your 80s movies, 70s movies, 90s movies. I've noticed that the 80s movies are so vanilla.
Ice.
No, that was 90.
Oh, that was Vanilla Ice was 90.
90, yeah.
Oh,
He brought it.
I thought I was making a
No,
funny.
forget music. No, 80s movies are so vanilla that you could probably watch those with a young child. Almost all of them.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
get
I
into the
agree.
90s and forget about it.
Right.
And I think it was just the times, you know. The kind of stuff that was showed in movies in the 90s, they would not have been able to get away with it in the 80s.
Well, a movie we watch every Christmas now, and the wife bought it for me on, I don't think it's Blu-ray, I think it's DVD. is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
Not a single real cuss word in the movie, even at the end where Chevy Chase explodes, and now I think he does say GD. I think he says GD.
In a Christmas movie.
GD, pass me the aspirin.
Well,
but it was just a ranting.
And what decade was that? 80s?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
80s?
yeah,
Okay. Probably
yeah.
late 80s, maybe.
Yeah.
It was. It was like the second vacation movie, wasn't it? There was National Lampoon's Vacation
when they went to Wally World,
right? Which was like 82,
right? And then right after that was Christmas Vacation.
Okay, so that would have been mid 80s,
right?
Okay, well that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
That it's something that you could watch with young kids these days.
And there's nothing homosexual, gay. There's nothing about sex really.
I don't mind too much when you go into the homosexuality. I can live with that. It's when you get when the sex is very, very out in the open, and like when I watched Ace Ventura with her the other day, there were scenes.
The first one or the second?
The first one. I had to
fast forward through the one where he's humping on the bed.
There's the humping on the bed, but the worst was when
the very end.
No, in the very beginning, when the woman disappears down below. And he starts. She says, "I'm going to unzip your pants." Then you hear the zip. She goes down below the camera angle, so you don't see her. And then he starts acting like he's in a garbage disposal.
Oh, that's right, in a blender.
In a blender. And my daughter was like, first question out of her mouth was, "Why did she take his pants off?"
Oh, dude, I'd have hit the fast forward button already.
I was in such shock and dismay. I don't know why I didn't remember these scenes.
The second Dumb,
but there were a bunch of scenes like that.
The second Dumb and Dumber, that happens again. He goes down on in his mind in a dream. He goes down on a woman, and below the camera scene,
his whole just disappears below the camera.
Right, and they're like, "Where'd he go?
Where did he go?"
I fast forward, and all of a sudden,
my daughter. Oh my!
There was a gas station scene. So apparently he came out of the dream.
Oh, that's part one. Dumb and Dumber 1, when they go into the gas station.
The second one, he wakes up from his dream and he's dry humping a tractor trailer and rubbing on the head. He's got his hand in the grill in one of the holes.
Oh,
in the grill.
No, that is so bad.
Yes.
Well, in part one, I can't. I'm not even letting her see this. She hasn't gotten this far in the movie yet, but when she does, I'm just flat out fast forwarding it. The scene where he's going to the bathroom and he sees on the wall, if you want manly love, be here at 2:15 a.m.
He looks at his clock,
and all of a sudden the music changes like a horror film. He looks at his watch, and it's exactly 2:15,
and it's sea bass.
It's sea bass, and all of that would have been okay until he drops trowel. And he's got this G-string leopard print underwear on. It looks like a women's underwear.
Dude, I forgot all about that.
And all kinds of questions are going to be raised when she gets to that part.
And then the cut scene where he's huddled in the corner sucking his thumb.
Yeah. There's the Ace Ventura scene when he finds out.
And he's burning his clothes.
Yeah,
and he's scrubbing.
He finds out that the girl that he's been kissing all over. And by the way, these kissing scenes
Einhorn
are completely. They're not romantic kissing. It's mouth all the way open.
It's Jim Carrey comedy mouth kiss.
It's comedy mouth kiss. It's you're eating your
oatmeal.
It's like you're trying to eat something out of the woman's mouth.
Right.
Well, fast forward later into the movie, and by the way, there's like 2 different kissing scenes with this woman. Fast forward to the end. Spoiler alert! Turn down your radio if you don't want to know the end.
What is it? Einhorn and Finkel. Einhorn Einhorn is Finkel.
So
Finkel is a man. Or
Yes.
Einhorn is a man.
So he finds out that this person that he's been doing all this stuff with.
It's like we
Sexual.
It's like we prepped the show for this movie.
Yeah.
Dude, I've just seen it so much.
Well, I'm only bringing it up and talking about it because I saw them when they first came out, and I thought, oh, these are the greatest movies ever.
Right.
I just seen them this week for the first time since then. It's been a really long time.
Yeah, you're bringing up parts of the movies that I completely forgot about.
Yeah, so my daughter is completely confused.
Right. So we will put that request to watch Ace Ventura on. We'll stall that request. We'll put that request on hold.
What I would say is if your children are under the age of, I'll say 14. You get to 14, then all right, whatever. If they're under 14, yeah, they're just 90s movies. You have to watch 90s movies yourself,
right,
before you let your children watch them.
Right,
Because you just don't know when that kind of stuff is just going to blow up.
So, jumping back, Jordan announced. Should I go to Sunday or Saturday?
How do we get it so far on a tangent?
Oh, because it stalled. They requested drones, and that request has been stalled.
Oh, there's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, we got off on a tangent. So anyway, U.S. is obviously dragging its feet on helping because we're led. The U.S., by way of our dear leader, is an Islamic State.
Right. And so if we're helping to destroy Islamic State, then there's a problem. He's going against his own people.
As far as he's concerned, that's friendly fire.
Right. So Jordan announced Sunday that it conducted dozens of airstrikes on the Islamic State group that murdered the Jordanian pilot.
And so they're not just hanging Islamic State prisoners.
No, they're going full force. They took the throttle and pushed it all the way forward, and when it stopped, they stood on the throttle to break it off so as not to be able to pull the throttle back.
Right, and you can also, I'm not a pilot myself, but I believe that there may be a separate throttle for the afterburner, or maybe a switch.
Right.
Possibly.
Possibly.
I think some aircraft, and if you're a pilot, go ahead and email us real quick.
Well, I know specifically, and this is really weird. No, the F-16s, they have a little toggle switch
For the afterburner?
No, to fly it.
Oh,
It's not like
so it's the joystick on the
Atari
radio.
games.
No,
but smaller.
Atari
Right.
game.
No. Yeah, the
So
red
I'm thinking
button,
the joystick
the afterburner.
on a Radio Shack remote control car.
Yep, that's it.
You get the two sticks.
Right.
One of those sticks could double as could be used as a replacement for the stick on an F-16.
Right.
That's
But-
that fly-by-wire.
Yeah, and it's got the whole, you can, 360 degree,
Really?
one little button, one little stick can do all of it.
Have you ever seen Flight of the Navigator?
And they say, the pilots say that just the slightest touch. I mean,
Okay.
it's so hair trigger touchy.
Have you seen the movie Flight of the Navigator?
I don't remember.
That would be a good one for your kids to watch.
Okay.
It's an 80s movie.
Oh, of
All
course.
80s movies are good.
Okay.
So,
Groundhog Day.
Oh, we got to see that one too. We just had Groundhog Day. By the way,
It's been renamed. Groundhog Day. Yeah, in Texas, Groundhog Day is no longer Groundhog Day. It is now Chris Kyle Day.
Oh, well, why did it have to be on Groundhog Day?
Because they said Groundhog Day is irrelevant. And Chris Kyle isn't.
Okay, I could buy that.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm buying whatever. But what are we gonna do with Bill Murray? I mean, come on.
Just watch it.
Okay, I'll just watch it.
So, as part of an international assault, Washington says it's beginning to bite. The whole attack is beginning to take hold, and apparently Jordan has led 56 air raids in the last 3 days. Yes.
Good.
They're launching what they refer to as Hellfire. And, this is interesting. The state TV in Jordan says, this is just the beginning, and you shall know who the Jordanians are from the armed forces. They said that on the state-run TV. Jordan unleashes wrath on ISIS. And the U.S. hit a couple of targets in Iraq to help the Kurds regain 2 towns taken by ISIS just months earlier. So the TV screen shows on the top. This is what they showed on the TV in Jordan. They showed several flights taking off with the F-16s, and they filmed in color. It's an amazing video. You know when you see the bombing from the F-16s where they'll bomb certain targets, it's all in black and white.
Yeah, it's real grainy. Yeah.
This is in HD color.
Because the technology's improved since the Gulf War.
It is amazing what they're showing on Jordanian TV. They're showing how they bombed ISIS and the pictures of bombing ISIS all in full HD color.
Interesting. Well, they should send 2 missiles because the first missile with a camera on it will show it going into the target, and as soon as it hits it, it's just a
black screen.
Yeah, it just goes.
But you can then switch to the missile following it.
You need the following missile that may not even have explosives on it. It's just there to get good footage.
Right.
So that,
And you could do a juxtaposition and a camera shot cut, and you could do it really good to almost make it look like your cameraman is in midair following the missile. Yeah, Hollywood could do a great job with this. Make it really good.
Okay.
Make it entertaining. So the last part of this, King Abdullah of Jordan II, determined to end ISIS, sending more hellfire, including he's sending more hellfire, including ground troops, fighting ISIS on the battlefield. They claim that Obama is fighting ISIS on the golf course.
What? What did you just say there?
Yes.
He's fighting ISIS on the golf course.
Yeah.
All right. So all these military attacks, you're saying, are in response to what happened to their Jordanian pilot.
Right.
Okay.
And I got a little bit of blow by from some folks on Facebook, and I'm going to tell you right now.
Blowback?
Yeah, a little bit. They said, well, Jordan didn't respond when girls are kidnapped and killing.
Wait a minute. Were they Jordanian girls?
See, I don't know you know how libs are. They throw out something and run away.
That's exactly what they do. And
they can do it so easy on the internet.
Right,
now.
right.
They love Twitter. They throw up on Twitter and then disappear.
And progressive communists, socialists, they don't understand nationalism. They just don't understand it.
Right. Well, they try sometimes to relate nationalism to Hitler's nationalism.
Right, and so they think they go with the John Lennon approach, the Imagine lyrics,
Oh, yeah.
That there are no borders and all that kind of stuff. But
there's no religion.
You need a team to fight for, you need a team to root on, and you need a team to be a part of. And a lot of people will use nationalism as that vehicle.
Right.
And so when a Jordanian pilot gets burned to death, and you're a Jordanian, there's going to be some freaking hell to pay. There has to be. There has to be.
Yeah, let me tell you, I remember the very first time I felt so proud and so connected to America and the military is when I was watching TV. We were in the basement playing Nintendo, and we turned on the TV and CNN came on. I don't know how we got CNN, but we got CNN. It came on and it said that that Iraq. What's his face that we did?
Saddam Hussein.
That Saddam has declared war on America. And I was just like,
oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't.
You did. Dude, do you realize what you apparently, you don't realize what you just did.
And you were old enough
Whoa! I was still in diapers at the time, bro.
You weren't even born yet. You heard all this secondhand.
I saw it on VHS.
Oh God! I was gonna say because I saw it on Beta.
This is what your dad is still using as VHS at times.
Yes. No, still. Yeah, pretty much. No, the worst is when he shows me his new DVD that he made
from
using
VHS. But he was a copy of a VHS.
No, here's the worst. If he wants to make a DVD of a show that comes on today,
right,
he can't record it onto DVD from the TV
because it won't allow you
for whatever reason.
Right.
So the way he bypasses that is he blows the dust off of one of his old 8-hour recorded over 10,000 time VHSs.
Oh man!
And he pushes it in to one of his old VHS recorders.
Right.
After he's got to clean it with it's a forehead.
But he pulls out the white, orange, white, yellow, and red AV connectors to connect the AV into the back of the VHS machine and connect the AV.
No, he still uses the screw-in cable. So he records it on VHS.
Okay.
And by the way, if any of you know anything about video recording, you get the highest quality on the highest speed, which gives you the least amount of time on the tape. So
if it's an 8-hour tape and you record it and you speed it up twice the speed of 4 hours, you've got a lot of information.
You can do a 2-hour tape.
Right.
You can speed it up. It would be standard play SP.
Right.
That would be the longest tape you can buy in SP is 2 hours. Okay. That would be your highest quality recording. My dad, it's a default on EP.
Extended play.
That makes the 2-hour tape an 8-hour tape. So he'll go ahead and do that.
Because you can jam more programs on an 8-hour tape than you can 2 hours.
Well, what happens is he'll record something that's an hour. But if he does it on EP and he leaves for a day or two and comes back, he'll have that hour show plus 7 hours of bonus material. It's like a surprise. It's like a surprise. So then what he'll do is, in order to get the DVD that he originally wanted, he'll then take the recording from VHS and transfer that to the DVD.
Oh my goodness.
And
you have lost so much information.
Video quality.
You have lost so much information.
Well, he does have a manual tracking.
So this is jerry-rigged in his house to...
Right. And we're not talking about a brand spanking new video here.
Or we're not talking about a new machine or a new tape.
We're talking about tape. He uses the same tape for every time he does this.
Oh, dude,
right.
I can't believe that thing is even still together.
Yeah, there's like springs flying out of it. But anyway, how do we get it? Okay, so getting back to the... So I found a new article by ABC News.
Okay.
Entitled, Video Appearing to Show Jordanian Pilot Burning to Death Absolutely Backfired Against ISIS. So dovetail into all of the attacks. So
if
apparently,
you look to the left, folks, you will see ISIS is now burning.
Yeah, so ISIS video appearing. Hold on a second. Didn't you say that the video...
There's no appearing. He was burned to death.
Why would they say that?
There's no appearing to be.
Why would they say... So apparently the author of this video didn't see the whole video of him burning to death.
I don't get it.
Why would you say that there's an ISIS video appearing to show a Jordanian pilot being burned alive when the video actually shows him burning alive? Did they think it was a special effect?
You got me. I have no idea.
Well, they're saying it absolutely is in quotes. Apparently, must have been the key word used. They say it absolutely backfired on the terror group retired Marine Corps General John Allen told ABC News in an exclusive interview. So it will be one of those moments that created unity of purpose and unity of effort among the nations of the world.
So do you know what the broadcast show name of this show is today?
Our show?
Yeah.
What's
today.
it called?
The name World War III. The world versus Obama ISIS. That's exactly what it is. We are currently at war with getting back our America from the grips of ISIS, who has implanted their cell group in the White House.
Yeah, we have to get that back. And I don't know what that might mean.
Well, we use votes.
For those of you in the
vote IRS.
No, for those of you in the CIA listening in right now.
Speaking of that, I didn't even put it on here. His name's Brandon. Brandon is.
Do we need more than that? That's good enough.
Oh, Brandon Rube, R-A-U-B, United States Marine Corps, was in and now is out. Apparently, was posting things on Facebook.
Okay.
Something about gonna go hacking and heads will fly and things like that. He didn't like the way the administration was running stuff.
Oh, he wasn't talking about terrorists in Middle East.
He's talking about a government.
Oh.
FBI showed up at his house. And
by the way, did any FBI show up at the shooter's house of the Fort Hood massacre prior to him doing anything he did?
No, not at all.
Amazing.
So,
it's almost as if they wanted that to happen.
Yeah. Well,
interesting.
And the FBI showed up at his house, and they videotaped the other people in the house and him videotaped the whole incident going down.
What incident?
Well, him being arrested by the FBI. He said, "What am I being charged with?" He said, "We're not charging you with anything. We're just taking it." So they took him and put him in a psych ward and said, "You're going to be here for 30 days." And apparently a conservative group who will give
Where's
you...
the ACLU?
They didn't want to get involved. They felt that it was frivolous, I guess.
Well, no, they know that it doesn't further the cause of dismantling the Constitution and implementing communism in replace of the Constitution.
Right.
And if it doesn't do that purpose, the ACLU doesn't need to be getting involved.
Correct. So a lawyer got involved from a conservative group who offers up lawyers in situations like this, I believe, pro bono. And within a week of him being at that psych ward, they were able to get a judge to release him and say this is unwarranted. And the lawyer was asked by the news reporter, so what is he being charged with? And the lawyer said when they asked the FBI said, we have no charges.
They held him for 30 days with no charges.
They were going to. But the lawyer got him released within a week.
So...
And now he's suing the government.
He should.
The problem with that is the money that he would win would be from us, John Q. taxpayer. I think he should sue the individual employees and they should cough it up.
Hey, you know what? I totally agree with that. He should sue them. I think you should be able to sue the government, not for money, but to force the firing of those involved. So maybe not sue individuals for their own personal money, but by suing the government to have people forcibly fired. If you win the case, let's say, okay, you win the case, so such and such will then be released from his employment in the government in this capacity, blah blah. You are taking money from them,
right? Absolutely.
And I believe that anybody who wins a suit of that nature, the person who loses and gets fired should no longer be able to work in public sector.
Problem with that is that the IRS this week announced that they're hiring hundreds and hundreds of new employees.
Felons. or whatever.
Whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
It's whatever the union deems their title should be.
Yeah.
So they're hiring hundreds and hundreds of new employees,
And
specifically
they'll all be unionized.
for Obamacare, because of Obamacare,
Right.
the IRS, and they just reported that at least a minimum of 100 employees that they're hiring in the past were fired and have IRS tax problems.
And are they being hired because of that? 'Cause
Yes,
that
they're
would
being
make
hired
sense.
back. Well, it's just like Al Sharpton, who owes $4.5 million in back taxes.
Maybe he can get a job.
Well, he got to sit down at the White House with Obama.
Oh.
for,
Well,
for whatever that's worth. But anyway, so hey, let's get back to.
do we have sound bites?
Oh yeah, let's get back.
Let's hit some sound bites because I like to go off on these idiots.
Let's get back to Rudy. Rudy Giuliani really came up. Bill Hemmer asked him a question. He said, "Why are you comparing Christianity to ISIS?" And I don't think it was that he was comparing Christianity to ISIS. It's that that Obama was. But it was a real weird question. But here's his answer.
Of 800 years ago. And also, how about the Crusades, in part, were a reaction to similar atrocities on the part of the Muslims who invaded Spain, invaded Europe, took over a good deal of the Middle East. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. It was tit for tat, you know. It went back to the Old Testament, eye for an eye, as opposed to the New Testament, turn the other cheek. And clearly in violation of the religion, as opposed to a good many of the practices here can be justified by words that I could pull right out of the Quran and show you.
You know,
That's exactly what it is.
And I just thought of a good analogy. Saying that Christians are bad for doing what they did in the Crusades to Muslims
1,000 years ago
would be like saying that American founders are bad for doing what they did to Britain in the Revolutionary War.
to free themselves. Right. Right. I was watching a clip. If you can pull it up on the History Channel, you can type this in, Crusades and what they were all about, or explain the Crusades. Find the History Channel clip. It's only about 3 to 5 minutes long. And as I was watching it, it talks about back in the turn of the century, 1000 AD, how the here it is, Pope Urban II in France spoke of the First Crusades in 1095 AD with reference to Muslims and their advance in Europe and Jerusalem. Christians believed that Muhammad was in contradiction to what Christ was saying, and so the Pope said, we're not going to let the Muslims change us or take away our religion, so we're going to go proactive. Problem was that Christians would make the trek to Jerusalem, the Holy Land, every year, once a year, and they still do that, once a year.
Uh-huh.
The problem was that only 50% would make it back alive.
So they were getting killed
by Muslims.
But it wasn't just that, hey, you know, there's a lot of bandits around here. They were specifically being targeted by Muslims. What?
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, when they tried to get a real job protecting the old geezer from bandits with the payroll.
It's been a long time since I seen
They were
that movie.
going down the hill, and the old man geezer said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, we're looking for bandits." I said, "You idiot! We don't have the money going down the hill. You gotta look when we have the money coming up the hill." But the thing was that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid were scouting for spots that would be ideal spots to hide in.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, that's what brought to my mind when you said that.
Yeah, it's not like
Bandits.
these guys were just going through dangerous areas where there's bandits. And
Or that they had a lot of money or a lot of clothing, or they were shipping goods. What about the Barbary pirates that our founding fathers had to deal with?
That's a part of American history that is just not taught.
Well,
and should be. Very important.
The founding fathers believed,
because it's relevant,
that they could pay off the Barbary pirates like the Barbary pirates wanted them to do, and they would leave them alone so we could ship our goods. Well, pirates, Muslim pirates, do what they do, and they continue to kill and slaughter and steal our stuff. So they made it a point that America will never, ever, ever, ever talk with and deal with,
negotiate with
terrorists unless you go through a third party. Obama went through a third party.
Oh, right. Well, about you got to do some unprecedented stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to let somebody else do your negotiating with terrorists on your behalf.
Correct.
All right. So yeah, let's hear more about these crusades.
So Rudy Giuliani graded Obama on his historical facts and his theology. I guess his knowledge of theology.
Comparison between the Crusades and this is inapt. The Crusades were a reaction, albeit an overreaction, a wrong reaction. We're not doing to them what they're doing to us. The Crusades were beheading us and we were beheading them. Here, they're knocking down our Twin Towers and killing 3,000 people. We're not knocking down some tower. They're taking women and putting them in bondage. They're stoning women for adultery. They don't allow women to drive in certain countries. They're killing their own people as well as our people. They're killing Christians. They're trying to wipe out Christians. It isn't a reaction to what we're doing. We're not doing the same thing to them. And so the president, as a historian, gets an F. The president, as a theologian, gets an F minus. And when is he going to start standing up for us, for our Western values that have civilized the world? And where did the printing press come from? This is a great civilization that we have that has committed some sins. Fortunately, we've corrected them. There needs to be a Muslim reformation.
I think maybe he was grasping for straws at freedom of speech, and First Amendment rights, and because with the whole thing in Charlie Hebdo in France.
Oh, okay.
Freedom of speech, the printing press, things like that.
They are so confused on freedom of speech. Even the Vatican.
Oh,
the Vatican is not in America, and if it was, they wouldn't have said what they said about that.
Yeah, the Pope.
They're just so confused on that. But anyway, he gets an F and he gets an F minus.
You can get an F minus?
Well, let's put it to you this way.
Dude, that's pretty bad.
If you have to get, let's say, less than 60% to get an F, so 59.9% is an F.
Right.
What if you get a 30%?
Oh,
that's
dude.
An F minus.
Goo. He didn't show up.
Or what if you didn't show up and you get a 0? Shouldn't the guy who got 59% have a higher grade than you?
Like an F plus.
That sounds worse, doesn't it?
Well, it would go F minus, F plus, D minus, D plus.
But if somebody says, I'm not going to give you an F, I'm going to give you an F plus. That sounds worse. No, it sounds worse. Like you don't just get an
plus
F.
An F.
You get an F plus. It almost sounds worse. But then again, when you say F minus, that sounds worse too.
Hey, I told you back at college.
It's like I'm going to give you a crap sandwich, and I'm going to give you another crap. It's not just a crap sandwich. It's a crap sandwich with spit in it.
Plus. It's a plus. Right. My counselor in college said this to me. Said, well, D is for diploma.
Yeah.
A counselor.
Well, and that's the society we live in.
Class counselor to help me choose my class said D is for diploma.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, because he knows the game.
Right.
That's of society, where the rules have been set by these crazy libs that decide that in order for you to get a job with these companies, and the companies are colluding with them, saying, well, we'll only hire people that have the big D, the diploma, and the colleges are like, hey, as long as they give us enough money, they do just enough work to get the D, we'll give them the paper required that these companies require to get hired.
Right.
And that's the game. That's the game of life. That's the rules.
So
I just decided not to participate.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna play a different game.
I'm gonna drop out.
Yeah.
So Rush had a very interesting take this week on this whole thing. He blew up.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it.
The show was was unbelievable. And I mean,
I saw the one where he talked a lot about Brian Williams.
It's Brian Williams, news reporter, media elite, liar, cheat.
Well, before you get
criminal.
too far off, are we going to talk about what
Rush.
Rush said about ISIS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I almost went down the road and started. You see, I got Brian Williams as number one on the top.
They
of
talked a lot about him this week.
I don't know. I just didn't even care. When I see Brian Williams' name, here's what I think.
But yeah, okay. But here's the thing that you might be missing. What happens with Brian Williams has put before the revelation with Brian Williams. Liberal news was a legitimate competitor to conservative news.
Fox
because
News or whatever, yeah.
Well, it could be Fox, it could be AM radio,
Right.
Talk radio, us, or
Right.
whatever. It was a legitimate competitor when the product for the customer is information.
Accurate, fact-filled,
factual information. And when the guy who is the face, the lead, the anchor of one of the most
at the
revered,
time. Yeah, at the
one
time,
of the most
right.
revered liberal propaganda outlets,
right,
who will tell you what we're saying to you as fact. You should get your information from us, and you'll be more knowledgeable for it. Come to find out, the guy is a pathological liar.
Not only is he a liar, but I think he's like certifiably insane.
Yeah,
I mean, he literally said this happened, and then he said it. Oh,
but
no.
then what happened was, when they found out that a 10-year-long rehashing of a exciting story of being attacked when he was in a helicopter in, what was it, Afghan?
He said I was looking down the barrel of an RPG.
Yeah, and they were firing at him, and they hit his helicopter, and they had to crash land.
He was hit.
Then they had to secure a position on the ground while they were being attacked by ground fire. It was like a movie.
How does that helicopter pilot and the people in that helicopter, how did they not come out?
They did.
When?
On Facebook.
When?
They were all for 10 years.
Oh, no!
For 10 years, and finally people were like, man, these guys are really speaking up. Maybe we should listen to them.
For 10 years.
Yeah, and finally they were like, will somebody listen to us? They were blowing Facebook up like this did not happen the way he's saying. So finally, it came out. I'll tell you when people started listening. When Brian Williams had so much heat on him, he finally had to come out himself and apologize for the inaccuracy of his story. And here's where it blows up.
The apology wasn't. But go ahead.
Yeah,
it was even worse.
Yeah,
it was even worse.
Well, the apology made it worse. That's true. However, people said, "Wait a minute." He reported during Katrina that he was infected with dysentery.
Right.
And then they started asking around all these hospitals and doctors.
Where was he treated for dysentery?
They said, we treated nobody for dysentery. Nobody had dysentery. He made everything that he reported about Katrina was made up. And it was important that it was made up because
it was against Bush.
Right. The whole thing about Katrina was a narrative against Bush.
They say that looking back historically, that the home FHA, what is the people, the government that comes to your aid?
FEMA.
That they're saying that Hurricane Katrina, that single instant was and probably is FEMA's only time ever of being extremely effective.
It was?
They said they were extremely effective looking back through history. That FEMA actually really dug in and got in and helped out.
Okay.
Versus all the other times.
It wasn't reported that way.
No. Versus all the other times that they like during Chris Christie's hug off. With
So you're
Obama.
saying that it's like the difference between an F and an F minus.
Sure, I'm
Okay, all right. I was just making sure. But it was important for the media back then.
Oh, to make this.
Keep in mind, let's put everything in context. FEMA is a government entity,
Right.
who, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the president.
Right.
And as long as FEMA is a complete disaster,
The president.
it reflects poorly on the president, who at the time was the guy who they needed to go after and destroy.
Right. And if you go back through the history, you'll see that FEMA was not the disaster that they claimed it was.
Well, so as long as hindsight gets it right, they're okay with reporting false news.
We're right. Of course.
They're like, hey, you know what? We'll go ahead and lie now because the ends justifies the means, because we know that 10, 20 years from now, they'll get it right.
Hey, the intelligence that we had on the ground in Benghazi was that it was... I don't know if it was some guys that were going around thought that they'd shoot up some Americans one night, or if it was just a protest. The information was bad.
And we'll go ahead and call this workplace violence over here in Fort Hood, because we know one day we'll get there. We'll get the truth. Somebody will get the truth
one day.
And this is relatively quickly, though.
Right.
This is shockingly quick. I honestly thought it was going to take a Republican president to come in and say, this is an atrocity what they did, calling this workplace violence. This was surprisingly fast.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. Well, I will say that Benghazi is probably going to be the end of Hillary once that finally... It's starting to trickle out more and more and more.
Justice has not even began to be served. And until it does, I always have my doubts.
Right.
I'll have my doubts that justice will not have been served until Hillary takes a massive fall.
I'd like to see her in prison, actually. I would.
Somebody needs to go to prison for it. I'd like to hear... I want to see the A Few Good Men scene where instead of Jack Nicholson, it's Hillary Clinton on the seat, and instead of Tom Cruise, it's Trey Gowdy.
Yeah.
And... him screaming, instead of saying, did you order the code red? Trey Gowdy screaming, did you order the stand down? You're damn right I did! And what difference does it make at this point? That's pretty much, yeah.
That's when it will.
And then
they
stop everything in court. They order the bailiff to put her in handcuffs, and while this is happening, she's like, what is this? What am I being charged with something? This is an outrage.
I've got things I've got to do. What did he say?
He said, I'm leaving. I got things to do. Where is the soundbite for that? Oh.
Who knows? That,
yeah.
That.
But it's Hillary, not Jack Nicholson. Hillary doing that.
Wow.
I've got helicopters to be shot at from.
Rectal feeding.
Oh! Wow.
I've got that one.
I have rectals to be fed.
So back to Rush. Rush's show this week. This is Rush's take on this whole Obama debacle.
To blast Christians today. Why in the world would that even be on your mind? And not just that, why would that be among the top of the things on your mind? And what is this business about? Lest we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place? High horse? Who among us is running around here on our high horse? If not for the President of the United States, who is it?
I don't know.
Among all of us in this country who doesn't seem to realize or want to admit the great threat that we all face today. Ferguson isn't Selma, but it may as well be. Christianity isn't Sharia. Never was until today.
Because Obama claimed that Christianity was and did what Sharia is doing now.
So he's just completely rewriting history.
Yes!
And he's masquerading his new history, brand new today, as this is what you should have known. And if you didn't know, now you do.
Right. Now you know.
Because I just taught you something because I'm the Messiah and I know everything.
Right. Right.
That's how he's trying to make it sound. Like I'm just telling you what the history is.
Christianity has never been what Sharia law is until Obama told us, and now we know.
Oh, now we know.
Now we were mistaken this entire time. We were mistaken.
Thank you, Mr. President.
About what Christianity is.
Well, it's not that we were mistaken. Some of them might be, but some other people just didn't know until Obama taught them.
So I thought this was kind of neat. Rush had a caller call in that was well educated on the Crusades.
Okay.
And Rush and him have a real brief conversation back and forth about it. And I wanted to play this because I believe that it's absolutely relevant to defining and nailing down what Crusades were all about.
I just wanted to comment on the fact that the Crusades only happened because of one man's 30-year trek from kingdom to kingdom between 1065 and 1095, because the average pilgrim that would go to Jerusalem would have ended up getting killed, or, they levied taxes on all of them, so that only 1 in 4 actually made it to Jerusalem and back. And that's the only reason we did. And even when we did, we gathered up our military and fought another military. We did not go around killing innocent people.
So you're saying
call it acts of barbarism is completely wrong.
It is your assertion the Crusades were a defensive maneuver.
And absolutely.
And in response to the wanton murder of Christians by militant Islamists back then 1,000 years ago.
Just like today.
Precisely. And the first thing we did was build hospitals. We did not go in there and start slaughtering people. We built hospitals to house the pilgrims and keep them going.
You're the exact kind of guy Obama's talking about. You're on your high horse here, and you think you've got all the answers, and you don't think God listens to anybody but you. You're the exact kind of guy that Obama was talking about today.
Not at all.
I'm teasing, but you are. You are. It's just it's a convenient fact of the Crusades that Obama left out.
A convenient fact of the Crusades that Obama left out.
Yeah, and you know what? When put that way, well, like you said, when he said
making
barbaric slaughter
right.
of Christians, and you said just like today. I mean,
yes.
We're marching, and it's starting with Jordan, and is Jordan? Are they considered an Islamic state or a country? Are
they actually are Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that it kind of starts with them, because they're not Christian. But
right.
I mean, does the Crusades does it have to be Christian to be called Crusades? Because at some point, if it starts with Jordan, which is not a Christian state,
right?
Is this Crusades too?
It might be. However, I've got something that I took away from the History Channel when they were talking about the Crusades pushing back against the Muslims. At first, stories leaked out to the Muslims about the atrocities that were going on, that the Christian Crusaders were slaughtering women and children. And the video in the History Channel showed a Crusader, killing a kid and killing a mom, and it was a reenactment.
So it happened. It happened.
It happened on the History Channel.
Yeah, which means it happened.
Really,
I saw it. I saw
1095 A.D.
I saw him stab a woman and a child.
I had it on the History Channel.
So yeah, they were killing women and children.
So then
that's how it works, by the way.
Right.
For those of you who don't know.
So then they cut to an expert that said yes.
Oh,
and
reinforcing it.
Right. And so the stories got back to the Muslims. And the Muslims were so fired up that they started their own crusade.
After. So it was a defensive response.
Right. And at the end of this clip, there's a professor. They're all professors of universities. And this round, chunky professor said, What was unbelievable to me is that all this bloodshed, these two sides killing each other over the name of the same God. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you. I did some research, and I know people in the church that have information on this, and there's also many links that you can find that will define to you the difference in who Allah is and the difference who the God of the Bible is.
I've always thought we're talking about the same God here,
and it is not.
I just look at it like, and I'm still not sold on you asserting that we're talking about two different gods here.
They are. The God, Allah, of the Bible, there is no God. They compared the God of the Bible that we talk about, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, versus Allah and Muhammad. And they put them side by side with historical facts and events, and it can't possibly be, according to the Quran and according to Muslims and Islam, Allah and Muhammad are both, one, a false god, and Muhammad is a false prophet.
Well, there's no doubt about Muhammad being a false prophet. There's no doubt about that. But what I would say is that if Allah and the God of Christianity is the same, I would say that Christian interpretation of what God is and what God does and all that is correct, and the Muslim interpretation of what God is or Allah is and Allah does and what Allah wants to do is incorrect. They just have it wrong.
Right.
That's my explanation.
The guy that I know that lives over in the Middle East, that travels back to America to our church every once in a while, I talked to him about this, and from his knowledge, his information, and he went to college to be a this college of right here in Cincinnati, the Bible School, Cincinnati Bible School, Bible College, CBC, Cincinnati Bible College. So he went there and graduated from there, and has done a lot of studies in the Middle East and back and forth. And he was raised over in the Middle East, and he told me that in the Bible and that in the readings, and this is obviously from him, he's got more knowledge on this than I do, but back in the day, a lot of the people started worshiping different gods and different pagan religions and would erect different statues. And he said Allah was the biggest of all the pagan gods.
Okay.
And so it's like the biggest rock star of all the rock stars. He was
the coolest.
Yeah, he was the Beatles. He was the Mick Jagger of the singers. He was the Robert Plant of the 70s and the rock and roll bands. He was the man of the band.
Okay.
And so it was clearly not part of the Bible or Christianity. That was his take on it.
Okay. I'd like to hear more about what he thinks of that, because I mean that's a subject I just don't know enough about. I'm just saying in general, from my observation of the way that the Christians view God and everything, that they've just got it right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. I see
for the
what you're
most
saying.
part.
Sure.
For the most part,
sure.
Their idea of our Creator being the way it's described in the Bible is correct, and what the Muslims view as the Creator, as described in the Quran, is just wrong.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem right, and so there's a lot of reason why I would believe that it can't be right.
No.
So that being said, my interpretation is they are talking about we don't have more than one creator. All right, there's a creator of the universe.
Right.
Muslims say they call this creator Allah. They describe who he is and what he is in the Quran, and they're wrong.
Correct.
Whereas the Christians, they say, okay, our creator, we call him God, same thing as Allah, except Muslims have it wrong, Christians have it right. That's my take on it.
Okay.
That's my take.
Right. Well, his take was that it was the rock star of all pagans.
Which was
interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I don't know.
weird.
I mean, the way that he told it was I mean, you know, I don't know. I started looking into it, and obviously, you know, some people were commenting back and forth on it. I was reading different articles about it. But if you look at it, it really is, from some of the things that I've been looking at, there is a definite distinction where they can isolate Allah and Muhammad, and that whole lineage is separate and not a part of the Bible.
Oh, so you describe it as two completely separate beings, almost like God and Satan would be two separate beings.
Right. Right.
Or you could have God and Allah, two separate beings, as if Allah exists outside of God. It's two separate things.
Well, then Allah could be the devil then.
Yeah, and I don't really subscribe.
I mean,
to
that's
that.
out there. I just threw that out there, just being
right.
Whatever. But
I look at it like this: if we can all agree that there is one Creator, what would we know about Him? What can we learn about Him? And so the Muslims learned everything that they learned about the Creator. They just happen to call the Creator Allah. Christians learn everything that they learn about the Creator. They call it God. And it just seems like Christians...
What about L. Ron Hubbard?
The fact about L. Ron Hubbard, which we're talking about Scientology, is he jokingly said, man, I could really, if you really want to be big, you'd create a religion.
Yeah.
So as a joke, he wrote Dianetics or whatever as a joke.
Dude, that's hysterical.
And people said, yeah, man,
Scientology, dude.
He's a science fiction writer, and so he before he wrote Scientology or Dianetics, he jokingly said, man, if you really want to be powerful,
this is good times.
So he said, screw it, let's do it, man. So he do it. They did it.
All right, so getting out of the weeds, taking our bushwhacker.
I didn't know we got that far into the weeds.
We got a listener said that they think we got in the weeds a little bit. I think we did a little bit,
right.
But we're good.
All right, back out of the weeds.
Back out of the weeds. U.S. negotiators are begging for Iran to come to the table and make a deal. Apparently, Iran has come out this week and said that Obama is obsessed with us, and he's like that girlfriend who won't stop calling us.
But if you're Iran, you would do that. You would say that. This is a reverse psychology.
Maybe,
if I'm after a hottie that I have no chance with, I have no chance with this girl.
Right.
It would be pretty clever for me to tell everybody
she won't
that
leave
the
me alone.
Girl is obsessing over me. Right.
Oh.
That's what that is.
However, Obama has been wanting, even from his very beginning.
Oh, so the hottie is upset. Why am I referring to him? It's a bad analogy.
He's
I know what it is. No. He's not a hottie to us. He's a hottie to Iran. Yeah, well, we're looking at. We're like Iran.
Haven't you seen that? Haven't you? Right, that one?
Really?
Haven't you seen the picture of Obama in the wedding dress?
No, I haven't. No, Michelle in the dress with the unit.
No. Obama is in a wedding dress.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
It is hysterical.
Is it as funny as the...
Yeah, with the unit. Yeah, it's just funny.
She has a unit.
So
it's a package.
So apparently South Korea, and I'm linking this all together like I've done before, Iran is coming to making the bomb. They want the bomb to eliminate Israel, and they want the bomb to eliminate America, and they're working with North Korea to make this happen. Obama is actively working with Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, which is no, make no bones about that. I mean that's true. He's been doing that this whole time. So while he's doing these talks with North Korea, with Iran is working with North Korea, and they're all working with Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, you get that?
Not really, but I mean, there's a lot of entities working together here.
Iran, North Korea, Hamas,
Okay.
and Muslim Brotherhood.
All
All
together.
they're all in bed together.
Okay.
And their goal is to destroy Israel. We got to get that out of here.
Right. And if they get a nuclear bomb,
they'll do it. Right.
Iran? I mean, how would they not?
Right. Well, according to South Korea this week, North Korea has launched missiles into the ocean. Testing.
Like Scuds?
I don't know. They didn't give it a name.
I mean,
they were launching Patriot missiles.
Well, ISIS probably could.
Could launch Patriot missiles.
They probably have thousands of them.
Patriot missiles that were left in Iraq. Right.
On the back of Humvees that they're now going off-roading in.
Right, because they tried to outfit them on their Toyotas.
But why would you bother with a Toyota when you have all these Hummers laying around?
All these American Humvees.
Oh,
Sure.
Man. It's an embarrassment.
So
it's a shameful thing. The Obama administration.
Michelle, I got somebody kicking back here says Michelle looks like Patrick Ewing.
Oh, that's a good one. That is good. As a former fan of the NBA back when Michael Jordan was in his heyday, that's a good one. Patrick Ewing. Wow, she probably has his hands.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot.
She could
about
palm
Patrick
a
Ewing.
basketball.
Yes, of course she could.
Wow. Yes. Wow, that's a good one because that sums it up.
So I'm leading all this up to Megyn Kelly on the Kelly Files had Charles Krautheimer.
He's not a Nazi, by the way.
And so she asked Krautheimer. She said, question. Iran is gaining power, right? I don't know if that's really a question, but that's what she said to him. And this is Krautheimer's response.
Well, the story that goes mostly unwritten is that the ones who are the most apoplectic about the rise of Iran, the fact that it looks as if Obama is ready to concede to them threshold nuclear status, are the Gulf Arabs. The Arabs have no deterrent. The Israelis at least have their own bomb. The Gulf Arabs are very rich and extremely weak. They rely and have for 2 generations on the United States. They not only see Obama essentially conceding the bomb to Iran, which will make it dominant and hegemonic in the entire region, but they look around and they see Iranian influence intruding itself in a whole stretch of states going all the way from Iran to the Mediterranean, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and now, as of yesterday, Yemen to their south. If you look at the map, you see our friends, the Gulf Arabs and the Jordanians, they are now surrounded by Iran and its satellites. And that is happening apart from the nuclear issue. And they look at this and see the United States, this is in the Arab view, having abdicated and having withdrawn and now ready to go all the way and to allow Iran to go nuclear.
Scary stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what so what does he think? That, okay, they're surrounding...
He thinks Obama, and what Obama is not doing, is stopping Iran from gaining nuclear weapons.
Right, but then what... I'm trying to figure out if he thinks that they would use their new power to take over these rich, weak
Sure.
Gulf Arabs.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, they could run through just like ISIS did in Iraq and all that, and just ransack it and just like take it over.
Sure.
I mean, then that would be a problem.
Well,
but if they go nuclear, I think what's really the issue is
if they go nuclear, North Korea goes nuclear, same time.
Oh, North Korea's already nuclear. They already did tests underground and all that.
Well, they're not officially nuclear.
Yeah,
they
they're
don't have officially nuclear war.
Yeah, they're nuclear.
Well, then they'd be giving it to Iran.
I don't think they can yet.
You don't think they can hand it off?
No.
Hand off the football?
They could put it in a... I don't know. I don't think they can. I think that there's so much of a microscope on North Korea. I don't think they can get away with much.
Right. Well,
But the thing about them becoming nuclear, obviously you have that power of being a nuclear power and maybe having even more influence on the Gulf Arabs and stuff like that. But what it boils down to, if you look at what the Islamic terrorists do to Israel not having a nuclear weapon, then it becomes not if, but when they use the nuclear weapon on Israel. And then what kind of a world do we live in today when Israel has been nuked by neighboring Muslim countries? Or just some rogue workplace violence guy?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
if Israel is wiped off the map.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be wiped off, but let's just say a nuke blows up in some town in Israel and wipes the town off. You know what happens then? I mean, what kind of world do we live in at that point?
I don't know. It's scary though.
And then what's the response?
I don't know.
I mean, under Obama,
our response is nothing.
Well, it'll be hashtag.
Hashtag
campaign.
Hashtag bring back Jerusalem.
Well, Jerusalem is all Muslims. And
okay,
all
so
that.
hashtag bring back the Jews.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow, because it worked before, didn't it?
Yeah. No, it didn't work.
Of course not.
Absolutely not. That's the whole thing about action. You know, you can't just hashtag it. I know what they're thinking. They're thinking if we put enough peer pressure on them by showing the world that a lot of people care about this issue, then that kind of care and love and concern is going to bear down on them psychologically.
Yeah.
Get them to change. But you know what? All those, what were they? School-age girls.
Right.
They were getting raped and kidnapped and then sold off to slavery. And
200. And then they picked
married into strangers. And
then they took over a town. A couple of hundred people. And they were slaughtering, killing all the men and picked up the women and children.
That's pretty much exactly reminiscent of Genghis Khan. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's how he did it. I mean, you rolled up into a town.
You right.
Well, you could tell the people in the town, okay, you could join us, and we will rule you, and you can join us.
Right.
Or you can die.
Well, it's funny that you say that because in Dinesh D'Souza's movie, America, Imagine a World Without Her, there is a whole section where he depicts and really defines what Muslims were back 1,000 years ago in the Middle East, living in huts and dirt and rocks and stuff and their lifestyle, and how that entire part of the world, in order to get more of anything, you had to kill somebody and take their stuff. That's how you got more. Not only that, but it was looked at as being a man. If you could conquer somebody or something,
I could see
you
that.
were a man.
Yeah, I could see that.
And if you didn't do it, you weren't a man.
Okay.
And if you were a merchant selling goods and services, you were looked at lower than a tax collector.
Oh, so you get all the way down to the bureaucratic level.
Right.
And you are scraping the bottom of the barrel.
You're below the bureaucrats. Yes. So they would actually kill merchants and just take their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got the stuff. I want it.
Right.
You want me to give you money for it.
So it's a bad.
I don't have money, or I don't want to give you the money. So let's go ahead and kill you.
Right. So it was a tough job being a merchant. You didn't want that.
Yeah,
People look down on you.
Sounds dangerous. Yeah.
Well, 1,000 years later, and they haven't changed. They are still the same. They still believe in their culture. To get more, you must take.
And kill.
And kill.
That's a problem.
Well, it's the mentality of the culture that's been there for thousands of years. And they see that when your mentality is such, and then you look at America and see we've got, your only thought is...
We got to get it.
Well, besides that, is they stole it to get it, so we got to go steal it from them.
Well, it's projection.
Exactly.
So in order for us to be in order for us to be moderately wealthy or have more than what we could ever work for,
right,
we have to steal.
Right.
When we look over to America and we see how much they got, all we can do is imagine how much they had to kill and steal for that.
Right. Exactly.
That's projection.
Right. So that's a great movie, and I would highly suggest. Real quick, I know we're running down. We got about 20 minutes left. I did have something else on Krauthammer on the escalating war with the White House, John Boehner inviting Bibi, but we can pass that. Obama is extremely hostile, and the whole administration is very hostile towards Israel.
Oh, yeah.
All the Democrats this week announced that they were too busy and going to be too busy to be there to listen to Bibi speak at Congress. Netanyahu wants to talk about the reality of what's going on in the Middle East, and he wants to take the platform stand. He was invited to take the stand and speak in front of Congress. I think that's fine and noble. There's nothing wrong with that. Neither is Krauthammer.
Okay.
So Obama just needs to get over being butthurt. But the thing that came up is that Congress is trying to pass legislation to pass the 1,170 miles of Keystone Pipeline.
I thought he killed that.
That would carry, and something I didn't realize, I was led to believe that the pipeline went all the way from Canada to the ocean.
Okay, so
that's not true.
So what does it do?
The pipeline starts in Canada. Well, there's already a pipeline going from the north to the south, all the way. There's already a pipeline there.
Okay.
However, they want to make an offshoot pipeline that goes from Canada through Nebraska to connect to the pipeline.
Okay.
Keystone, if you will.
Okay.
And that will send 830,000 barrels a day to the refineries in the Gulf Coast to be refined.
Okay.
And apparently psychotic Democrats want to be paid exponentially amount for that oil crossing the states.
They want to, tax it?
Yeah. They want to be paid exponentially more because you're using a line that's already there.
Well, right, and so they're just being like Chicago-style thugs.
That is exactly.
It's a mafia.
Right. Well,
Democrats in the government are the mafia of like the 30s, the Prohibition era mafia.
This is going.
You pay us for protection. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to.
That's exactly what it is. This is going to make your head explode.
Oh, I can't wait.
The FCC, or the FCC, I'm still stuck on the EPA. Well, all of them, whatever it is.
The A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
I got stuck on Mitch McConnell. The EPA has given Obama a new reason to stop the pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline. Their reasoning? It will lower gas prices.
To do what?
EPA gave Obama a new reason to stop the Keystone because cheap oil prices, plunging prices in a global market, have led the EPA to advise that the extraction of that oil may not make sense economically for energy companies.
Right, because it costs a lot of money to extract it.
Well, not only that, but they're saying that the EPA is saying that the prices of the oil and gas will drop. So these companies, energy companies, won't be making as much money.
Right. So
why would the EPA pick and choose who's to make money and who's not?
The EPA should not be doing that. But my question is, why is the government making a pipeline? Why can't the private sector do that?
The private sector is making the pipeline. They just have to go through the EPA to be able to get it.
And they're dangling the golden ticket.
Oh, yes.
Much.
Oh, the golden carrot everything right in front of them. Absolutely.
And they're like, we can let you do this, or we cannot let you do this. It's all in our hands. And we're going to make our decision based on whether it's going to empower us more to let you or empower us more to not let you.
Right.
So who's going to give us the most power? Because we need as much power. We need to maximize the maximum amount. We need to hit the peak possible amount of power.
Right.
And so the timing has to be perfect so we can extract as much money and power as possible out of all involved.
Right.
Whether it is the environmental movement or whether it's the gas companies. Who's going to pay us?
Well, and that's the big thing, too. The environment.
It's a bidding war.
It is.
For the government.
Right. And this is what Mitch
And not just the government. The freaking politicians who are trying to get the power.
Right. And Mitch McConnell, who's no real friend of ours, I mean, he's a sheep and wolf's clothing. Wolf and sheep's clothing.
He's a something and something clothing.
Right. Actually kind of surprised me. He had this to say about the whole thing.
The Keystone Infrastructure Project has been studied endlessly, from almost every possible angle. And the same general conclusion keeps becoming clear. Build it.
There you go. Let's just build it.
It sounds like you cut him off. I was waiting for him to say, but.
I'm trying to put him in a good light.
Right. You cut off the bad stuff.
Right. Hey, Dick Durbin, who's another politician, had this to say right after Mitch.
It's true that we've had a constructive relationship during the last several weeks as we've considered this bill. And although those of us on the Democratic side don't want to get comfortable in our minority status, we are determined to make sure that it is, as described, a constructive relationship.
He said the Democratic side. He said the Democratic side. You know, us over here on the Democratic side. It's the Democrat side.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, he's going to misspeak, of course.
Democratic side.
They have to lie about who they are. The labels are important to them. The labels have to mislead the public into thinking that it is what they want them to think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. So my whole thing is let it be, let it go. It's been studied. It's been shown. It'll bring tens of thousands of new jobs. It'll help us make us independent, help us get closer to independent.
Well, what's really holding us back? Is it just this might have a negative environmental impact?
No, for some reason, Obama has chosen this to be a bone that he wants to pick with all of America. From the beginning of his reign.
Well, let's go to the communist.
The Mein Führer's reign.
Yeah, if we go all the way to it, he's a communist through and through, and part of the new Communist Party. This wasn't an issue back in the Soviet Union days, but this is the new face of communism, and that is a belief, because it all ties together. A belief that the environmental movement must be fully entrenched in this whole Leviathan that they're trying to create, this utopia where there is no environmental impact, and by impact I mean if it follows the narrative of their fake global warming.
Well, I mean, you know, with them and their windmills, and they're killing off all these birds and these.
That is a dichotomy that they were not anticipating.
Right.
They were not anticipating.
I'd like to know how many caribou the Alaskan pipeline has murdered.
I think it actually pulled out a appendage with a knife on it.
Okay,
and started stabbing the caribou.
Okay,
definitely.
Sure. The movie Iron Giant.
Oh, I haven't seen it, but my daughter did, and she said it was really good.
Oh yeah, you'll love the subtle nuances throughout the movie.
Oh my goodness!
And my daughter caught it. I said, "Did you hear what he just said?"
Uh-oh.
I said, "The little boy said to the giant, the Iron Giant, guns kill."
Oh no!
He repeated the mantra a few times.
He said, "Guns kill." What?
And my daughter said, guns don't kill, people kill, Daddy.
You know what? Your daughter is wiser than most. Wiser than most.
And I commenced to, I did stop. I caught myself so they can enjoy the movie. But, I had to let them know. I said, you see what's going on here.
Oh, so not only are you letting her correct them, but you're also teaching them.
Expanding.
That somebody made this film in order to try to teach people the wrong things.
Yep.
That's important.
Yep.
Every child needs to be taught that.
It was unbelievable how they got the military to hate on this robot, and the only time the robot would turn into an evil mega destruction of hate and anger was as the beatnik of the movie. There was a beatnik in the movie.
Okay.
A hippie beatnik. Hey, cool daddy-o.
Oh, hipster.
Yeah, hipster.
Oh, jeez.
And he said, hey, wait, guys. He's only doing this out of defense. He's only reacting to your anger. Don't kill him. And so the robot at the very end, they accidentally launched a nuclear weapon at the city, the small little town in Maine. And the robot said, it's time for me to go home. And he launches himself in the air and catches the nuclear bomb in the stratosphere and blows up in the stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But something that's special about this robot is that it has honing sensors so that all his body parts act independently and come back to the mother head of the robot.
Okay.
At the very end of the movie, there's bits and pieces of him all over the earth. And you see them crawling back to the head in the snow somewhere in the Arctic or something.
So they leave you believing that he's going to come back together.
Right, there's a sequel.
Maybe. Oh, of course there is.
Guns kill.
Guns kill.
You don't know that.
That is so dumb. I believe that who's the rocker? Now I can't remember his name. Ted Nugent.
Ted.
I think he's proving through the process of elimination or brute force, whatever you want to call it, that guns, or at least the gun that he's testing, doesn't really kill anybody. He's videotaping a gun laying on a table, waiting for him to capture an instance of the gun killing somebody. But it hasn't killed anybody yet.
No, not yet.
But he's not gonna rest until he captures that thing killing somebody. So what do you got? What do we have on the chat?
He said the movie was directed by Michael Bay. I don't know anything about
I
Michael
heard
Bay.
of Michael Bay, but I don't know anything about him. But
I have no.
But that name, I've heard that
bell.
name. Yeah, it rings a bell. I'm sure the liberals love him if I've heard of him. Because I would have heard him all over mainstream media, probably. Oh, boy.
Wow. Well, I don't have much more than that. There's a lot of stuff that went on this week.
Well, we hit everything, and we even talked about the Brian Williams that you didn't want to talk about, so we got that.
But, Brian Williams thing, it's all par for the course. It's what liberal mainstream media does. They lie, they cheat, they steal. Whatever they've got to do to push the agenda of, of the administration's talking points.
Right.
To help push the administration's talking points, help defend the administration, help to prop up the administration. Like we've said many, many times before, folks, this administration is at a all-time low in the 30s for their approval rating, while the entire mainstream media has been propping him up for 6 years.
Well, breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Now they're saying, it's 12 hours old. Brian Williams' account of seeing a dead body float by his hotel during Katrina, very suspect, Commander says. Now they're finally saying, wait a minute. He reported while he was in his hotel,
Right.
looking out the door where there was flooding,
Yeah.
or out his window. I see a dead body floating by, and now that's suspect. And
Well-
I'm suffering from dysentery.
What? I mean, everything that he says now is going to be suspect.
Actually, have you ever known a like a pathological liar? Or they call them what's the where they literally nothing that comes out of their mouth has any fact to it. It's like they're constantly making up a story that could be real because they're not saying anything that's obviously fake.
Right.
But none of it's real, and they're making it sound like it actually happened. I met 2 people in my life that are like that, and I think Brian Williams could be the third one that I know of, where like literally everything they say is just completely fabricated, and it's said in a way that sounds like he's speaking truth, that
Right.
it actually happened to him. And the one guy I'm thinking of that used to do that,
I mean, Obama does
it was
that.
his fiancée that spilled the beans on him. Yeah, he was talking all this stuff about family members, and we were like, man, we were talking to his fiancée when he wasn't around, and we were like, man, this, that, and the other thing, and she was like, huh? Yeah, all of it was made up. All of it. It was and that's what those pathological liars do, and they exist. People who do that kind of stuff exist, and Brian Williams sounds like he's one of them. And the question is, how many liberals out there in the media are like that? Is it just limited to Brian Williams, or is it just a problem that spans throughout all of liberal media?
Well, I mean, look at what they did to Bush when they made up that story. Man, they made up all kinds of stories about Bush and being in the military and not.
Okay. So Rush talked about this week. He said this is the explanation of that, and this is why they lie so much. They have certain beliefs. If they believe a certain thing, if they can't find proof of it, it's okay for them to make it up because
it's not provable.
No, it's not that it's not. The belief is fact. As long as the belief in their mind is fact, then they can lie about evidence of it. That's admissible because it all it does is back up the thing that they believe is fact, even though they have no evidence of it. Yeah. So like global warming is a perfect example.
Okay.
In their mind, they know it's happening.
Well, the
It's
science
fact.
the science is settled.
The science is settled.
Right.
They can't find any real solid empirical evidence for it. So then they make up all these lies about it because it's okay. As long as it supports what we know is fact, we are allowed to lie about the evidence for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And think about the people that we know that are very far left that are not retrievable. Like you can't rescue them.
Mm-hmm.
The people that we know personally that can't be rescued. The stuff coming out of their mouth.
Yeah. That's maybe one day.
I'm
holding out hope.
So you're holding out hope?
I know. I'm a glutton for punishment. It happens. What are you going to do?
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Stay positive, folks. There's a lot of good things going on.
Oh, man. Well, how much? We're almost at time.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things going on in the world. A lot of people standing up.
We just don't know about it.
No, it's true. It's true. It's inspiring to see other countries stand up against evil.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
I mean, human nature is what it is, and when pushed too far, I know good people stand up. Prayed about it this afternoon when we had dinner with the kids. Prayed about everybody around the world so that God could take care of them, help them stand up, give them the strength to stand up against the evil because, boy, try and stand up against the evil media that is the left, and they will eat you alive, let alone stand up against somebody called ISIS in the name of Allah Akbar and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if I can add to that. But no, it does feel good to know that finally somebody's doing what we're all feeling should be done.
Right. And with that, this is how I feel. Okay. All right, everybody. You have an incredible week. Let's see you next weekend. Keep the comments coming, and we'll keep posting them.
There you go.
All right, have a good night now.
Thumb it up.